What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Barbells and Bangers. Today, we have a special guest. Now, you guys know I don't have guests on every time. I have guests on occasionally, but not too often. Originally, we was supposed to have a different guest, but we ended up having to push that back. And I was thinking, okay, I could do the podcast by myself like I normally do, but it's been I don't know, I think it's been like a month since I've had a guest on. So I'm like, let's do it. So this young man reached out to me and told me that he was, I guess, a little bit inspired by what I was doing with my podcast. And he was like, hey, how did you start doing this? And I told him to give me a call and I'll tell you how I started it. So basically, this is somebody who has been watching my stuff and kind of got a little bit of inspiration and now is wanting to do a podcast of their own. So I'm like, what better way to introduce you to podcast land than to just bring you on my podcast so you can get a feel for it and just see how it works and have a good conversation. That's what I'm all about. So probably what we're going to talk about now, we don't have a plan. We don't have an agenda. You guys know how I roll. We're always winging it here. Okay. But this is going to be a good conversation. I just know it. And we are probably going to talk about fitness. We're probably going to talk about MMA. Who knows? We might talk about music. We might talk about all kinds of things. So I'm really excited to bring this guy on. He has been watching a lot of my stuff and we have a lot of common interests. So I'm very excited. So I am going to bring on Mr. Brandon Young in 1 minuto. Give me 1 second, guys.
Can you hear me now?
The sound was coming through my computer instead of my headphones. I'm like, why can't I hear anything? I'm like,
Do I sound good? Like I'm coming out of an iPhone 12 or a Nokia phone?
No, you sound great.
Perfect. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing? I'm so
well.
confused. I don't know where to look. I got my camera and then I've got the computer and then I've got the screen next to my camera and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is overstimulating, but it's okay.
It's almost funny too because the one thing I noticed about people in general in focus is like we can't put a left eye on one side of the screen and the right eye on the other side of the screen, so it's almost like the focus there, I definitely can understand that, but it's all good to me. It almost looks like you're looking at me just off in the corner, not a lazy eye though.
Yeah, I'm like, where do I look? Because the last time I did, so I've done 2 other guest episodes so far. So I did one. The first one I did in person, so that's easy. Because it was my bestie, and she just came over and we just recorded in my kitchen. And then the second one that I did, we did virtual, but I just used my webcam because I didn't know how to use my camera yet.
Right. It's
I
clean.
had no idea what I was doing.
Clean.
Good. Okay, cool. Because this is my first time. This is my first Zoom call using my camera. So I'm like, I hope this works.
Yeah, I feel like I'm on like a Zoom 2.0 call. It's nice.
Yeah, you got to try it. When you get a camera, you got to try it because it's so cool because it just like looks like real life. I'm like, oh, this is so sick.
Yeah,
I just figured out how to do it.
It's almost like wearing glasses without putting them on. It's nice.
Yeah.
So I feel you too because I've worn glasses for years, which I'd assume you have too. But I remember thinking at one point, like I should get LASIK contacts, but now that I look at it, it's like glasses are a great accessory. It's an awesome perk.
Yeah, exactly.
Most people that wear glasses are extraordinary. I'd like to think so.
I think so. I agree. Because I wear glasses too.
I like I also wanted to let you know, I like your Gymshark hat, the beanie.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, everybody likes this hat, so I wore it again. I was like, I didn't wear a hat the last episode. I like to wear a hat for some reason. I don't know why. When I do the podcast, I just like to wear a hat. I think it just puts me in like a more chill vibe. But the last episode I didn't wear a hat, and then I was watching. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't look right. Without the hat.
Yeah, you like it. It's a part of your podcast. Now Gymshark should be paying you interest for that.
Yeah, I know. Come on, Gymshark.
Right.
Show me the money.
I think it's really neat though that you wear it, but it's also a friend texted me today and said it was kind of chilly today in Missouri.
Yeah, it is.
It's also great to wear beanies. I don't think they're I don't think there's ever a bad time to wear a beanie, especially in
No.
Missouri. The weather is so bipolar. It's so
Yeah,
wild.
you
It's
just
so
never
bad.
know if it's gonna snow or if it's gonna tornado. You just don't know. It's a
Exactly.
guessing game.
I
Where are
think
you at right
too,
now? We're
I, I currently flew out to Vegas.
Oh, I thought you were in Vegas this whole time.
Yeah, I have been. I got there last night
Oh.
and it was pain in the ass. Just a almost
Oh, you just
4 hour
got to
flight.
Vegas.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. 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 Gotcha.
Home of MGM, home of UFC, home of
Yeah.
boxing. It is such a fun place to be. They advertise all the fights. They've got the highlights from Song's fight last night. So
Oh, nice.
obviously it's just really nice because everywhere I walk, I get a glimpse of that, like the Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia fight, of the next UFC fights, bare knuckles, all that stuff. And I think it's good exposure for people that really want to live that experience. And I don't want to underestimate the sport of fighting, boxing, MMA, UFC, Bellator. But I do think Missouri just unfortunately doesn't carry ideally an area where people can all come together as a community, and Vegas just
Right.
seems to be that hotspot. But I get it. MGM Grand is so known for all of that and has been for the last 20 years. So I can understand Vegas being home for people like that. It went from people buying tickets to go see a fight to now people betting on fighters everywhere, from $5 to
All right.
50, 60, 70, 80 grand. So it's just, I'm not a part of that. I can't afford it. But what I can afford are plane tickets to be here to watch a fight on TV at a bar in Vegas. So
Yeah,
close
there you
enough.
go.
Close enough.
One of my goals within the next couple years is to go to a UFC fight, like for real, like actually go and experience like a pay-per-view. Like I want to go experience the whole thing because that's just like something I've always wanted to do is watch it. Like I've watched fights live, but I've never watched UFC live. I've watched Bellator and other organizations, but never watched UFC. And I feel like that's just like a different level of experience. And it would be cool to see it in Vegas too. When I was in Vegas, I've only been there once, but when I was in Vegas, it was I think it was Figueiredo versus Moreno, the first fight, maybe. I can't remember. It was either the first or
Not
the
too
second
long
fight.
ago.
Um, so I remember being there and I remember like the energy. And I was like, oh, this is cool. I was like, man, I wish I was going to the fight.
It's
But
different.
yeah, and that's what made me like Vegas. So like when I knew I was gonna go to Vegas, I
Mhm.
didn't really think I was gonna like it because I don't gamble and I'm just not really like a club person, like that's just not my vibe.
Right.
But the fight scene there is so cool that it made up for all that. Then I was like, okay, I like Vegas now.
It's so visual too. And thank God to glasses. Like, thank God you and I don't go out and about and like we wear our glasses to be ourselves, right? But it also allows us to see, and seeing a fight on video is so different than in person. The adrenaline jumps. And I think it's also too WWE, and not to get off topic into an industry, but all around it's some form of physical contact or
Right.
technical contact. And I've noticed um, the way people rave at UFC, I truthfully believe it's based on the pain, that we know it's real. We know these guys are having bloody noses, cauliflower
Yeah.
ears, um, maybe a blown out kneecap from a leg kick, whatever it might be. But WWE, I think, and it's a total different industry, but that's why I like to compare and contrast of, hey, it's funny you mentioned your dream because I've had a dream since last year to go to a UFC fight. So every week or month, I look online just to find, and again, I'm conservative, but I will pay for the cheapest ticket. Ideally, I think everybody that wants to go to a UFC fight, even if it's pay-per-view, you could go all out if you can afford it. But then I also have to think too, like it's just an opportunity. I just want to
Yeah.
be there. You know,
Exactly.
I
Same.
just I think once you go once, it's kind of like traveling. Someone may go to Branson so many times, but then they end up at wanting to go to Florida. Well, eventually you sit, so far up and you want to look at these fighters. Eventually one day you might splurge out and buy a really nice front row ticket. It could happen. So I think UFC is great. I also love that Dana White bought it out. I don't think it would be what it is today if none of that ever happened. So I definitely envy Dana White and his team more than anything, just based on where the UFC is now. And
Oh,
as
it's
a
crazy. It's
100%,
insane.
and I think you can probably agree because it goes all the way back to and could be wrong, but didn't Floyd fight McGregor?
Yeah,
Okay.
in
That
boxing.
that's still pretty like mind-blowing to me. I still think about that maybe once
Yeah,
or twice a week, that it was essentially like a shift in the market of fighting.
right.
And now where we are today, it's almost like I only want to watch UFC because now I'm seeing people partake in other areas that they may not have been trained in, or they're not strategic in, or maybe it's
Yeah.
just their sport. So obviously Jake Paul, Logan Paul, all that stuff's a total different ball game and a total
Yeah.
different story. But I'm sure you've seen all of that too. I've
Yeah.
been guilty enough of paying for those fights. So
Well, and when they first started all that stuff, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is a circus." I'm like, "This is just what is going on here?" And
right.
then but then like the last couple fights I watched Jake Paul, I'm like, "He's actually good." I'm like, "He's got some skill." So I think it's cool that somebody can go and transition from being like what did he would go from Disney Channel to YouTube,
Yep.
and then now he's boxing. I guess he still is YouTube, but more so
Right.
Logan Paul than Jake.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, it's cool to see people just like branching off from other things and I don't know, making a whole new career and I guess maybe they're just checking stuff off their bucket list, like
That too.
I think
I
it's
think
cool.
that is a great way to look at it, especially from a perspective of now we're in a I would say the modern era. We're in a world where you can almost get into industries a lot easier than it was before.
Right.
Almost like acting. I think a lot of people that do want to act have a better chance now than they did 20, 30 years ago.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Well,
I
because you can put all
also,
your acting on the internet and be like, "Hey, here's who I am. Here's what I can
yeah,
do."
you do a sparring video of beating the out of a mannequin. I mean, that could blow up one day. Like, who knows? You either you end up getting, and what was it? That's a perfect thing that you brought up. Do you remember the female who was hired out by Dana White, security guard? She you
Oh yeah,
crazy. The
I forgot about
video
that.
was just gnarly. She just tackled like these two guys stealing this TV and just instantly she was hired, I think a couple weeks later. But I thought it was just a beautiful moment to show that some people, it's like blessings in disguises.
Yeah.
So does Jake Paul have an advantage? For sure. Being able to box and go with it and then go into a fight. Most people that don't have what he has, a lot of the times just talk to talk. And I think
Yeah.
he was able to walk. He was able to prove and show, hey, I can do this, even though I've lost. I can, I may fight people that aren't competitive or who aren't fighters. And I only say that because of Ben Askren, along with who was it, the basketball player,
Oh,
Nate,
I forgot about that
Nate
one.
Robinson. Yeah, and that one drove me nuts a little bit because the
That's
guy's a
so
basketball.
bizarre.
Yeah, he's a basketball player, and he also he unfortunately he's had a disease for the last 3 years. Right before that, right after that fight, he publicly announced it. So he's having to
Oh
do, and
wow.
it's a deathly disease for sure. And I definitely I love the idea of entertainment, like where they're
Yeah.
taking it. Because
Oh yeah.
we all grew up on Jake Paul and Logan Paul, but now being able to like see this guy not on Disney Channel and pursuing something that's more relevant with our age group,
Right.
it's a lot better. I'd be a little upset if he continued with Disney and is still on Disney today. So I'm thankful that
Right.
he at least took a different route. Because Logan Paul, I was actually talking to a buddy about that yesterday. I think he's got a beautiful physique, and I hope to God Logan continues in boxing. I thought that fight between him and Floyd, it was almost like Rocky 3, and I'm sure you're familiar with those films, but Rocky was so small, compared to the people that he was fighting in those films. So
Right.
watching Floyd, just this little guy that's, has never been knocked out one
How
time.
how big is Logan Paul? I don't even know how big he is.
6'2", 6'3". I
He's
think he's
pretty
almost,
tall, huh? Okay.
yeah, right around 200 pounds, but he's just
He's pretty jacked too, isn't he? I
yoked.
didn't
He
realize
has
that.
definitely can't. I'm not going to sit here and say he's on steroids. I don't think he has the time to
Yeah,
dedicate.
I doubt it.
It just
I
wouldn't
mean,
make
it's not
sense.
like he's in the UFC or like doing professional where he's actually boxing like Ryan Garcia is boxing. Like he's
Yes.
he's a YouTuber. He doesn't
How do
need
you
boxing.
how do you feel about that? And this is something I wanted to ask you because I'd love to get your opinion. Maybe it'll open my mind a little bit more. But Ryan Garcia is pretty young, and
Oh
Gervonta's a little bit
yeah,
older.
was he
So
21?
Yeah, he's a kid, and I'm looking
21 or
20,
24?
he's 21, I think, 21, 22.
Wow.
And Gervonta, I try not to doubt anybody. I mean, he's also being coached by Floyd. Ryan's being coached by Oscar De La Hoya. I think there's definitely some good training and coaching all around there for sure. They're very well rounded. But
Yeah.
how do you feel about the age gap in fighting of somebody who doesn't have the extra 3, 4, 5 years of experience that somebody else does, but they're at the same level weight wise, division wise. They go into this fight, but there's 4, 5, 6 years of a gap that one person had of extra training, fighting, coaching that other person did not. So I was just curious on your thoughts on like the effectiveness of that. And do you think that long term it'll become more detrimental on, hey, we're causing people to learn and train. But then I also have to think two people could learn together, one could get twice as far.
Right.
So I have to remember too, it's just like school. We all were in the same math class, but only so many kids proceed and go further with math or academics, whatever it might be. So I have to realize too, boxing and fighting, some of these guys could be 16, but they're just as good as a 25-year-old. But I don't know. It just blows my mind a little bit. I thought he was a little too young to go in a fight with Gervonta. I think that Gervonta is just too hard of a hitter. I think Ryan is lean.
Yeah, he hits really hard.
Scary.
And even going into this, I was like, okay, so Ryan's got to be the underdog because, I mean, I've watched a few of Davis's fights, and I've watched Ryan Garcia a little bit, not as much as I've watched Tank, but yeah, I mean, it felt like maybe it was rushed a little bit, but I'm like, well, maybe maybe they know something we don't know. Maybe Ryan Garcia is just that good. Like, who knows? But I think we saw exactly what happens when you put somebody with not nearly as much experience in the ring with somebody with that much experience. Is, hey, you get hit with a liver shot and you don't know what to do.
Right.
So, and when you get hit with not even just getting hit with a liver shot, getting hit with a liver shot by Tank Davis, like that's
Literally.
and it's probably not something he's experienced, like that type of like pain, and I don't think people understand too, like when you get hit with a liver shot, like you just like shut down, like
Right.
it's not easy to bounce back from.
Right.
But I think, yeah, if he had more experience, maybe would have been able to like bounce back from that maybe a little bit better. I don't know. But I think it's cool that he did. I think it's cool that he did it. I think it's cool that he wasn't scared to get in there with Tank.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, he's got so much time though. Like,
to get better, to grow.
Oh my gosh. And now more people know who he is because he was in there with Tank, with the best. So he made a name for himself a little bit. But unfortunately, a lot of fans too are gonna be like, wait, this guy can't even handle a body shot, like I don't know. There were a lot of people talking smack after that. which
I agree.
is like, I talked about this on another episode, but I'm like, guys, like, would you be able to get in there and do that? No. So just shut your mouth.
Yeah, I can't. I wouldn't be able to take a body shot, especially like in the rib cage. Almost
yeah,
to
it
the
hurts.
Point,
it hurts.
literally. And like you're saying it too because I have seen you train. I have seen your videos. Like you've probably definitely sparred a couple people to the point where you're like, cool. Not only can I talk about this, but I know how some of this feels. Maybe not on that level.
I got hit with a body shot in sparring by this girl, and she hit me not like super hard, but she hit me pretty hard.
Right. Definitely left some pain.
I had to stop for a second. I was like, hold on. I felt like I was gonna throw up. I was like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
Because I've been punched in the face many times, but I really hadn't been hit to the body that much.
Right.
So when I felt it, I was like, oh my God. I was like, oh, it hurts so bad.
Yeah,
so I just had to like take a breather. I had to, I was like, all right, I'm coming back.
Ryan Garcia, Polo Garcia. I love that.
Yeah.
It's the nice thing is at least you're aware of that because if Ryan got back up, he could have fell straight to the ground. I think too, you were able to shine a light on just the idea of people not realizing how detrimental it is to go into a ring.
No, and that's like part of the reason that I started sparring was mainly not because I wanted to fight, because Gosh, I have so much hair on my microphone. It's like a magnet.
Right.
So I really was just curious because that's just how I am. I like to know how things work. I like to know the ins and outs of things. And I'm like, I'm not really going to truly understand boxing unless I spar.
Right.
So I want to try sparring. And, I'm like, I'm not going to do it all the time. I ended up doing it like once or twice a week for a while, but that wasn't the original plan. I was like, I'll do this like
Right.
once a month. But you get addicted to it because it's fun.
Right.
But the reason I started sparring was because I just wanted to understand it better. Because when you have an opponent in front of you, like it's so much different, and you understand those little things that you don't really get when you're doing drills or when you're hitting a bag, because you don't understand distance, and you don't understand like how to counter, and you don't understand head movement as much. Like my head movement was non-existent until I started sparring, because you don't have to move your head. There's nothing hitting you.
Right. Right.
So I'm like, okay, well, I think, I'm like, I'm not going to be a fighter, but I want to spar because I want to know how it feels, and I want to just understand the sport better. And I may start sparring again in the future. I don't know. It's probably not gonna be anytime soon because my conditioning is absolute garbage. But
Right.
one
You're
of
working
these
on it. You're
days,
getting, hey,
I'm working on it.
yeah,
Okay, I'm
slowly
working
but
on it.
surely.
Well, and people forget too. I'm like, dude, I have lupus. Like, I have some physical limitations here too that I'm working with.
Yeah.
So I can't train as hard as I would like to. Like, if I could, I would go like full Goggins mode, but I
Right.
can't.
Oh
So
yeah.
I
You would be ripped, and all 7 books would already be written by you.
yeah, I would be a monster if I didn't have lupus. But I don't use it as an excuse, because it's like I still, I'm like, I'm just gonna do the best that I can do with what I've got, and
Right.
and just keep pushing. So
Right.
um
And I think that's really neat that you do that though too, is that you with lupus, the idea,
mhm,
because we don't, it's almost kind of like all the celebrities that are acting, and a little off topic, Chadwick Boseman, obviously we all know has passed away, but did any of us know that he had a disease
right.
while beautifully acting?
I
Same
can't
thing with
even believe
fighting.
it still.
Right. And I can't either. I think it was also too knowing it was at like 6 p.m. on like a weekday, it was like, wait, he just low key passed away and like didn't want to tell the world. Like that's fine, but I think he also knew the impact he left on the world.
Right.
And whatever it is, maybe it's not my place, too personal, I think too, but the idea of fighters having something going in with that, um, I could tie it into cauliflower ear, but I mean that to me alone is pretty wild, pretty dangerous. Like,
Did you see there was a fight in Mexico recently? I don't know when it was, maybe this weekend.
was it
Um
sponsored, like advertised, or was it more of like a street?
It was a no, it was a sanctioned fight, but it was like a smaller organization. It was like
Okay.
UWC or something like that. But the guy's cauliflower ear like exploded apparently.
Oh
I didn't
no.
watch the video because I'm like, I don't know if I'm
Yeah.
ready for this. I'm like, I can't.
Oh.
That's a little much for me.
Well, yeah,
But
because you're sitting there too, like, oh, I'm gonna act like I'm a a beginner fighter. Like I don't want that to happen to me. That's what it looks like. I think
yeah,
too, cauliflower ear, it's not
rough.
gross, but I think it is a rough thing to think about that people I don't want to say we know what, let me rephrase that. Some UFC fighters are dirty. We all know that. Uh,
Yeah,
but I think some go for others. Like I could definitely see a UFC fighter going to a fight being like, you know what? I don't want to hit him in the face. I want to give this guy cauliflower ear. He's in the UFC with no cauliflower ear. That I can't do that. I could definitely see that. Or maybe a guy who's like, you know what? I've seen his leg kicks. He's not good. I'm gonna blow his kneecap out. Whatever it might be, I think that certain fighters kind of look for certain angles, but that's strategic and analytical. I think that's what I feel like that's also what's driven your mentality into that, is knowing this isn't just a sport where you fight once and get a pro card. This
right,
is a sport that if you go into it having not even perfect head movement, perfect reach, perfect distance, just well rounded, you ideally may lack in some things, but then you have strengths that are others' weaknesses. And I think that's what, and me from seeing you, which I do want to point out in this video too, that I have seen your sparring videos. I have seen it all. I definitely can see the fun that you have there. It also seems to me like it's therapeutic for you,
oh
and
yeah,
those
definitely.
those are definitely great traits and good things to carry, especially when it's revolved around just a sport. Because lifting for me, and even for you, you're probably aware by now at the age that we are, we can't just go and lift and have this beautiful physique to become an IFBB pro.
Right.
Only
Yeah, there's a lot more
right.
to it than that.
Yeah, and I think UFC is a more stable sport for people who just want to be more physically active,
Yeah.
who essentially want to maybe not even use that as stress, but to challenge themselves. So the blessing in disguise there is a lot of these people that started at a young age, UFC, boxing, WWE, they didn't know they were going to become a fighter. So it could happen to you. In 10 years, Brie, you could be out of Ronda Rousey. Like you don't know. You just don't
Don't even
know.
tell me that. Don't even tell me that.
So I will toot your horn, but ideally,
No.
any you
She
could
would
get
destroy
better.
she would murder me in
How do
5
you
seconds.
how do you feel that she's no longer?
She's a
I don't
lot
want
bigger
to.
than me too though. I'm only 5'1". She's pretty big. I think she fought at like 135 and 145 maybe. I
She's
can't remember,
ripped,
but she was
ripped.
huge.
Oh yeah.
And she knows judo, so she would just throw me
Oh
around and ragdoll me for sure.
right. Yeah. Oh yeah. I think it makes me a little scared. I've got a buddy that he's doing jujitsu. He actually teaches classes. He's 22. He teaches classes from 5 all the way up to, I mean, nearly adults. So people our
Yeah,
age. He is. And
nice.
he loves it, enjoys it. I know I can't remember, there's one fighter that goes to St. Charles MMA that lives out here in St. Louis. Is it Sean Woodson? I think it's Sean
Sean
Woodson.
Woodson trains at
Doesn't he train somewhere else in Missouri?
what's the name of that gym? Gosh, I always forget the name of it.
I'm gonna look it up. Is it in St. Louis?
It's out here. It's out where I live. It's in where is it?
Is that
Gosh, I
Ballin?
can't.
You live in Ballin?
No, no,
Maybe.
no. It's what is it called? What is it called?
I'm
I
looking at it.
cannot think of the name of this place.
There's
It's
Wise
like at the tip of
Warriors,
my tongue.
River
Wolf's
City, 10th
Den.
Planet,
Wolf's Den, that's what it is.
Wolves Den. That sounds dangerous.
Yeah.
Sounds, and they call him
I've
what, the
never trained there.
sniper?
I don't really know a lot of people. I think I know somebody that trains there actually. Never mind. I just don't remember the name. But I've never been there. I've never trained there. So I don't
Neither
know.
am I. I would be so scared. Like, and then this
I've
is
only
just,
trained at St. Charles.
did you
So
like it?
yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of great fighters. I mean, you got Julius Angliscus there. You've got Josh Sampo. You've got trying to think because not all the fighters are still there that I know. There's a lot of great fighters out of there, and there's a lot of good amateur fighters too, and just people who just train, you know.
Right. People who
Yeah,
actively want to be better. It's,
right,
I think it's
right.
pretty cool that people, it's just like working out. You know, you go in, you can bench 35-pound dumbbells. Hey, a year later, now you can bench 55, 60. I think it's really neat. There's so much power, you know, in terms of what we're able to do in and outside of the ring. I remember ideally when I looked into it as a kid, I think it was 16, 17, and we all know, you know, there was a time and age where kids always ask money from their parents. And I was that kid, you know, I couldn't go to St. Charles training or St. Charles MMA and pay for this myself. This stuff was really expensive. So obviously we live in a world now where connections are the biggest thing. And I think if you can connect with anybody, whether it's a trainer, someone, you know, a fighter, amateur, or in the UFC or MMA or Bellator, which in your case you do, which is great. Um, it's such an advantage to be able to go further. I think it's also really neat that
Yeah,
Ben Askren and Tyrone Woodley are from St. Louis. I think it's great that they coach kids, that they teach people, because there is more of an advantage now for people to really dive in, as opposed to like the whole Mike Tyson example of where, yes, he got lucky. He met a guy who admired him and then became the biggest boxer in the world at one point. Well, now you don't ever have to be a fighter, but if you train with the right person and you eventually get really good at it, you could take it so far. So it's just insane to think where we are now with what it was before. The roster is so, I love it. The compare and
there's so many
contrast.
people doing it now.
Yes.
That's what's so cool about it.
I
And
love
I
it.
think it's also people are starting their training a lot younger. So it's like there's people that are like 3 years old right now and they're already on the mats, and it's like they're gonna be
Yeah.
killers. They're gonna be
Right.
free. We don't even know it yet. We don't
They're
even know what
tatted
these
and
monsters are
everything.
capable of. Like when you see those videos like Habib wrestling the bears and stuff when he was like a kid, there's
Yep.
probably There's probably some people doing that right now.
Oh yeah, they're tatted too. All these little kids, they're tatted with the gloves on,
They
the
already have
M&M
cauliflower
shirts.
ear and they're 4.
Oh yeah, they're. It's. I do love that though. I like that you brought that up because I think more kids, they're. I don't want to necessarily say it doesn't build confidence, but does it build a good self-esteem of, oh wow, I can do this at a young age, or wow, I've accomplished something.
Yeah.
And I think that's great because a lot of people, and I think what happens in tweens to being a young adult, we all go through that midlife crisis of who am I? What can I do? What should I do in life?
Right.
These kids are going to have a little bit of an easier thought process of, okay, well, I'm really good at this. Why don't I take a jab at it and just keep going?
Yeah, because they
And
can try all kinds of different things now. That's a
mhm,
nice thing. Like when I was growing up, like we didn't have girls wrestling at my
right.
school, but now they do. So I'm
It's
like,
crazy.
man, I wish I could have done that. Like that would be
Mm,
so cool. But then it's like I think back, I'm like, would I have wanted to do that? I don't know. Probably not. Unless somebody like pushed me to do it.
right.
So I don't know. It's definitely a different time. But it's cool because like I think martial arts should be like taught in school. Like at least like a little bit of jujitsu or something.
Mhm,
Because I think the biggest thing that it teaches people, first of all, is discipline. That's the biggest thing. Um, but also it humbles you.
right. It does.
And some people need to be humbled sometimes. But especially
Yes.
when you're a kid too, because you're a kid, you just say whatever you want and you do whatever you want because you're a kid. But
Yeah.
I
No
feel like
filter.
early on when kids are in stuff like that, it does help. And that's why I think you see a lot of like athletes, they carry over that discipline and that success into other areas of life typically. So I think it's cool. And I wish that it was more of a thing like jujitsu and stuff like that because it's a way that you can train martial arts, but you're not going to get any like brain damage, concussions, or anything like that. You might tear your ACL or something like that, but
Right.
you're not going to get. But you get that in basketball, baseball, soccer. You get that in every sport. So it's like it's not really that much different. But you don't get punched in the face. That's the thing. So you can do it for
Yeah.
a lot longer and not end up, with a bunch of issues when you get older, like we see a lot of these fighters.
Exactly. I like that you brought that up because I think makes me think of Lyoto Machida a little bit.
Yeah.
When he was huge on martial or just karate. And I remember back in the day, 15 years ago, karate was the biggest thing. Every kid
Yep.
I knew was doing it. Every
Oh
kid,
yeah.
I'm a green belt, I'm a yellow belt, I'm a blue belt. Like, I get it, I get it, I get it. Okay. And I liked the idea of the training there where you're right. There essentially is some healthy benefits to it where you could fight without completely injuring yourself. And as opposed to putting yourself in a ring where okay, I can fight, but how broken can I come out of this fight? How teared up can I come out of this fight? And I think um, it also ties into with, and I don't want to speak on too much of it because I don't know the whole situation, but that McGregor kick when he got Poirier and he pretty much, I mean, I can't even remember, just the ankle like just fell apart. Like it's
Oh,
like
I don't
Laffy
even want to
Taffy.
think
Like it
about it.
almost just like it bent like a bar. And seeing that, I'm like, okay, McGregor's been fighting for years. Like, why? What was he doing there that he? Like, I'm just trying to understand. The second he went in that ring, that's why. What were you doing? It still blows. I love Poirier, respect it, but seeing McGregor, a beautiful fighter, by the way. I root for him. I love the guy. I would hope to God that you like him too. I think,
I love and hate Connor at the same time.
yeah, it's
Like I
sometimes,
always joke about Connor because Connor, I feel like is the one fighter that you can just talk trash about and it's
yeah,
okay. Because I
yep.
don't talk trash really about other fighters, but I'll talk trash about Connor because it's like he's Connor. He's who cares?
He's
But
talked so much shit
you
publicly.
got to
And
respect Connor for what he's done for the sport. I mean, UFC and MMA wouldn't be what it is. And also, he's pretty much like the first guy to do UFC and boxing at the same time, which I guess is like,
a
Dana White
double-edged
privilege or
sword.
whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
but, you don't see that often because it's not, their contract doesn't allow it. Like with
Right.
Francis, they wouldn't let him box and be in the UFC at the same time, but they let Connor do it. So it's like, what is Connor like? Maybe we should be paying attention to what Connor is doing. How did he pull that off? Because
Right.
I think more fighters should be able to do that and figure out ways that they can.
Right.
Because it's like, if they want to box, just let them box. Who cares? Like,
Right.
it's
I love that you brought that up because I didn't think about that. Like that is actually something I did not establish in my own mindset of wow, there is some privilege there.
Did you
And
watch Bare Knuckle last night?
I did. How did you feel? I saw your
Did you see
post.
Connor?
Yeah, I saw your Facebook post too.
I
You
want
want
to
to see him
see
fight
Connor
again?
in Bare Knuckle so bad.
You want to beat him,
Oh
or you want
no,
to
I
see
want to
him?
see him in Bare Knuckle.
Yeah,
I want to see him
I
fight Mike Perry.
yeah, I think that would be great. I would love to see him fight Mike Perry. Obviously McGregor stole the show last night, so
Yeah.
I
Oh,
think it
of
was great.
course.
You
He
know,
was on one.
and
Yeah.
Mike Perry defeating Luke Rockhold. I definitely think it was smart for him to throw the towel in when he got his teeth
I
messed
was
up.
not surprised at
Let's
all.
be real here. Yeah, you and me both. If we get our teeth knocked out or messed up, I'm sorry. I'm going straight to the dentist. I'm taking a break, a hiatus on the
They
sport.
looked pretty bad. I saw his video from today. He was talking about the fight and his
Mhm.
lips all busted. Man, he is. But here's the thing. I was talking to somebody about this earlier. So bare knuckle, like it's more likely that you're gonna get like disfigured,
Right,
and you're gonna get messed up. But um, I don't think there's as much like brain damage and concussions
right.
because you can hit more with the
Hmm.
gloves on,
Right,
so you can take more punches.
right,
You can take less when you don't have the gloves on, so you would think that would result in less um brain issues, concussions. And I haven't really done a lot of research on it. I probably will and see kind of which sport is more dangerous.
yeah. Which is
um
more effective in the ring?
yeah, because I don't know. I don't know if like boxing, MMA, bare knuckle, which one is the safest for like your brain. I'm curious about that. So I might do some
Right.
research on like, have there been any deaths? Have there been like how many I don't know. I just might want to dive into that a little bit and
I
see
think it's
because it's
smart.
interesting.
It is. I agree. I actually like that you brought that up because I'm not. I had to think about if you were to get hit in the temple hard enough with your bare knuckle, it could kill you. So these
Yeah,
guys,
that's the other thing too.
right,
Yeah, it's like it doesn't make it more dangerous. I don't know. I don't know. But
right,
but here's what I will say. I was very impressed with Bare Knuckle last night. And I feel like that was like their big moment. That's where they were
mm,
like, "Hey, we're here, guys. We are
yep,
here."
this is happening.
And I like that cuz think about a guy like Francis Ngannou right now.
Hmm.
What is he kind of probably thinking? He's probably thinking,
Right.
oh, well, Eddie Alvarez and Chad
Yeah. Yep.
Mendez, Conor McGregor was there. He's probably like,
Everybody.
maybe I should try to make a deal with BKFC. And I think that he probably would. Should it even be legal for Francis to be in bare knuckle? That guy will literally tear people's heads off
Yep.
in
He's
bare
gonna.
knuckle. It will be
Right.
violence.
It's
Like
KGB. Straight KGB.
like imagine you're in bare knuckle like Ben Rothwell and you're like, okay,
Yep.
who's my next opponent? And then it's just you see Francis and you're like, okay, I'm gonna retire now.
Ben Rothwell is huge too.
Dude, he's
Big
so
boy.
good. And right now in bare knuckle, like when he was in the UFC, like obviously like I knew who he was and like a lot of diehard fans knew he was, but
Yeah.
the casuals didn't really know Ben Rothwell. But in bare knuckle though, he's a
Yeah.
freaking superstar. I love it.
9-0. Like just gnarly. I agree with you. Bare knuckle scares the out of me. Like I would not like with the way I'm like looking at my hand, I'm like, okay, I
Yeah.
would rather get hit like with these, but this, it's so I have to think too, because I was reading about it. I remember that myth that went around that UFC fighters' hands are registered weapons. It's like a total myth.
Oh yeah, I've heard that too.
And we all hear it. I think
It's like, what does that
it,
even mean?
yeah, what does that mean? That's almost like what did you insure your hands? Like I don't understand here. So, but I do think these fighters have an advantage of being able to go out and about and know, okay, like you in the fighting world too. Like let's Conor McGregor, for example, he's very unique looking. We all would know him from a mile away. We don't have
Yeah.
to see Conor from 10 miles out to think, oh, that I don't know if that's Conor McGregor. We would just know tattoos,
Oh
rib,
yeah.
very broad physique, almost has like this what do they call those?
Well, he's got like the beard too, and
Yeah,
like
he's just
he's Irish. He's got the accent. Like he's
probably has
just a
his whiskey in
character.
his hand. Yeah, and then he took
He
the shot
he
last
did,
night
didn't he
too.
have a bottle of whiskey and he was
Yeah.
chugging it in the? That's
Yes.
hilarious.
Yeah. Oh my God, the whole
See,
crowd was
this
just.
is the Connor that I get excited about. This is
Yep.
like the best Connor, but it's probably because he's not in the USADA testing pool. Let's be honest.
Yeah. That's so true. And like to be truthful too, I think he made, and I feel like him and Dana have a different relationship than we.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
The fact
But
that
think
like,
about how much money he's made Dana. So it's
yep,
like, can you blame Dana? I
yep.
mean,
Do you remember how big that fight was against Floyd? Like, do you remember the money invested in I think it was, they both made $400 to $600 million. I mean, maybe it was more, maybe it was 3 or 4 billion each. I can't quite remember, but I know Floyd made more than McGregor. Maybe McGregor made more long-term, but I definitely know that was like his startup to, I'm going to get into alcohol, whiskey. Maybe he was already pre-investing a little bit more, but I know deep
he's
down, go
smart.
ahead.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing for
Yep.
sure with business, and with he's great at getting attention. You know, and like I was kind of surprised to see him at bare knuckle a little bit, but then I was like, no, he's smart. He knows what he's doing. He's scoping
Right.
it out. He's like, huh, maybe I'll go, because here's the thing about Connor, he could do whatever he wants.
He could do whatever he
He can do
wants.
whatever he wants. He does it. It doesn't matter.
Right.
He can do anything.
I saw that.
It's fine.
He was smoking marijuana in a photo. And I'm like, wait, guy, like, I was like, okay. It's probably the Dana White privilege there. It was
Yeah,
probably
it
CBD
is.
for all we know. And he's just telling everyone it's marijuana, but I get it. He was in Vegas. So it's
Yeah,
very legal here. I will
he's
probably go to,
funny.
MGM this week and send you some photos. And if I can
Yeah,
if I can
nice.
meet anybody that can get me in to just to see the ring, like where the takes
I would
place.
love to see it.
That's what I'm saying, man. To
Have you
feel
ever
that.
watched like MMA live?
I haven't, not MMA. I've watched a lot of UFC. I
No, I
really
mean like in person.
the St. Charles Arena, yes. Like I've
Okay,
been to
so you've
the
gone to like Shamrock and stuff like that.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
cool.
And that was
So
a
you
good
know,
time.
a little bit what it's like.
Yeah, I went when I was younger too, 16, 17, 18. And during those times too, I didn't realize how serious these guys were. I thought
Yeah.
this was just like you know, I thought it was a street fight upgraded, but no, yeah, like, maybe like it's a street fight, but just more in like Hollywood Hills, So
Right.
these guys, I didn't realize like some of these guys are actually training to become pro fighters. Some of these guys
Oh
really
yeah.
take this seriously. And I didn't realize if a country singer like Sam Hunt is playing at that St. Charles Arena, the family arena, but fighters are also fighting there, it's that big. I have to think
Right.
like we definitely have a base here in Missouri. It's just small, but it
It
is
has
nice though.
potential. Yeah, it
Yes,
has potential.
has potential. And I see the growth there in the long
We
run.
had we've had some pretty decent guys come out of Shamrock. Evan Elder
Okay.
and Joaquin Buckley, I think, fought in
Yep.
Shamrock.
Joaquin.
I can't think of any other names at the moment, but yeah, there's been some really good fighters come out of there, and in other organizations too. Like I always tell people, watch LFA. LFA
LFA.
is they've got some killers in LFA.
How do you
Killers.
feel? How do you feel about and I'm curious, Poirier definitely left a mark for himself. How do you feel about Conor in that sense of those two fights? Do you think that'll ever come back around, or the idea of Michael Chandler or Tyrone Woodley? I'm curious on your thoughts on that, because I actually expected a third fight. I expected it. Like I was hoping to God I would see Conor get back in the ring after that injury. And I'm in the same boat.
Yeah.
I talk on Conor when needed, but most of the time I still carry a lot of love for the guy. But when I know he says something so dirty, like he did to Poirier in the ring about his wife, I just thought right there, like, I get it. Connor's probably pissed. He just trained for months and then went to the ring
Yeah.
and blew his ankle out. He's not
Right.
mad at Dustin or his wife. He's mad because he just went to the ring and is embarrassed.
Well, and
So,
imagine the pressure of being Conor McGregor.
right. Yeah. You have this stigmatism, or you carry
All
the
eyes are on you.
all eyes are on him. And
Yeah.
Dustin, I do want to say this truthfully, is an underdog. He has went from losing to really showing, even against Chandler. Like I thought he was going to lose, but he won against Chandler. So I just
Oh, Dustin is so good. People
Yeah,
forget how good Dustin really is.
literally. And
But
I
he's
don't.
evolved a lot too. He's gotten a
Mhm.
lot better.
Yeah, it's the pure evolution for him. I think is great. I definitely like that. I have seen a
But the
lot
thing
come
about
from him.
Dustin, he fights everybody. Like he's not scared of
Yeah,
anybody.
he
He
fights
fought
everyone.
Habib when nobody wanted to fight Habib. He fought Dan Hooker at the time.
Yep.
People thought Dan Hooker was gonna beat Dustin,
Right.
which is crazy.
Right.
Which is just silly. But yeah, I mean, and he fought at featherweight too back in the day. He fought
Mhm.
like Holloway. I think he fought, was it Holloway's debut in the UFC
Yep.
when he fought Dustin?
I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
And I
gonna
think
actually look that
Dustin
real quick.
submitted him maybe or something like that. I don't
Debut.
remember, but
No, that was
that
actually
was
a
a
good
long
fight
time
though.
ago.
It was a long time ago because they him and Tyrone and Chandler. No, it was Michael Chandler and Tyrone both started in '09. One from Ferguson, one from High Ridge. So it was pretty crazy.
Oh. I
It was
always
pretty
forget
cute.
that Chandler's from Missouri.
I do too. That's kind of the only upsetting fact of it. It was like, damn, a St. Louis native lost, but I like
But here's the
Dustin.
thing about Chandler though, even when he loses though, like he brings 100%. Like he's entertaining to
Right.
watch. So even if he loses, it's like you got to love watching him fight. He's great.
So that is very true. How do you feel? Um, oh, what was it? Oh, yeah, when Khabib retired. How do you feel about that? That someone so good, like in that sense, do you? Because I don't even want to say Connor retired, but did I have a feeling Connor was going to retire early? So I was curious in your thoughts when that happened. I thought Khabib could have kept going. I thought he had a very, very
Oh
long
yeah,
lasting
definitely.
career. Curious on your thoughts on that, how you feel that, it was so abrupt. Like, hey, I'm done with this sport, but you're so young. But I get it. I feel like as a fighter, when you fight somebody at a top limit and you win, I don't know. Is that just them getting comfortable, do you think? Or maybe do you think it's more of things we don't know on the back end?
I think Habib losing his dad probably
Mhm.
had a lot to do with it. Um Also his mom. And people like hear that and they're like, "Oh, whatever, he can do what he wants. He's a grown man." But it's like people don't understand other cultures how important family is and how close family is, and it's just it's different.
Right.
So I think that probably has a lot to do with it. And just like, I mean, yeah, if you're a mother and you see your kid fighting for a living, you've got to be like, oh my gosh, when is he going to stop doing this? It's giving me
Right.
anxiety.
Right.
And also you have to be like, okay, when is he going to lose? Because it's like, if he would have kept going, would he have experienced some more adversity?
Mhm.
Probably. Or maybe not. Who knows? I don't know. But eventually you're gonna get to the point where, you lose.
Right.
Or
It
or you're
happens.
just not the same. You're not, because it's one thing to win, but like when you're at Habib's level, you can't just win. You have to dominate.
Right. Go
Um,
further. And like you said, you did point out something valid. You have to not only go into it and just win, but you have to almost build this image that, hey, holy shit, that fight he had a year ago, pay-per-view, wow, what he did differently here, that
yeah.
shows.
Yeah, he
So I
had
think,
he had pressure to get better too. And it's like,
right.
he's already better than everybody in this division. How much better can he get?
Yeah, how much better can he get? What, he doesn't have 4 arms, he doesn't have an extra
Right.
finger, like no extra toe. Like, what does this guy have? It's actually funny you mentioned it, seeing kids, you're watching your child fight. I could imagine you fighting
Oh my
and your
gosh.
parents watching, and they're like, Bree, you got this, but you have lupus,
Yeah.
remember?
Right.
And
Yeah. They'd be like,
you're
"What are you
sitting there,
doing,
yeah,
ma'am?"
you're sitting there taking a hit, like, I don't give a and I think that's very true, because I have to remember having a child, like not being a single child, but watching other friends and family members that were single children. Parents raise them slightly differently. They care a little bit more. So my parents, if I went into the sport, they're just going to be supportive. But if I
Right.
was a single child, the only kid they have, and I got hit in the temple and I was in a
Mhm.
coma, that might be a total different story. But my
Right.
parent, I've got other siblings, so we're all in the bag, so it's okay. But I try to look at it like that. Like, it's, these parents see their kids and they still see a child. They still see that baby face at some point. So,
Yep.
I do love that UFC has prevented deaths, that we don't see them, and we're not
Yeah.
likely not going to see them, because I think these people going into this sport, a lot of people just see these fighters, and a lot of them, to be truthful, this too, a lot of these fighters are ethnic, very foreign that we have in this
Yeah, it's
industry.
a very diverse sport. I mean, we've got we've got something going in China now even. I mean, Brazil and Russia have been on the map for a while.
Right.
And with what we're doing here in the US with wrestling is exciting. So, yeah, there's a lot of diversity, and I think that's one thing that I really like about MMA
Mhm.
because you get to see different cultures and everybody's so unique. They have their own style. And, you've got in Brazil, they got jujitsu. Here, we got wrestling. We got MMA in general. Now people just train MMA. They're not like specialists as much as they used to be.
Right.
And we've got Russia, you got Sambo. So it's just interesting to see all these different backgrounds and styles kind of come together, and I think
Right.
that's what makes it so cool because
Seeing
it's
them
it's not
and
the same thing over and over again.
no. I like that you brought that up because I think a lot of people tend to just look at these fighters as fighters, but I like to
Yeah.
follow their Instagram. I like to
Yeah,
see
oh
their
yeah.
Facebook. I like to see what this guy's about to tweet after he just lost his fight. What is this
Right.
guy about to, what video is he going to post? What shit is he going to talk today? And but it lets me know too, these guys are human. Like that
Yes.
sport is meant to, it's not faked.
Right.
But that's also why I like WWE and what it presents. I don't know if you know this, but funny story, Batista went into Bellator, like MMA back in like 2011, 2012, and
Oh
just
yeah.
you can just watch him get his ass beat. He just isn't good with he's not good with hooks, uppercuts, lefts, rights, jabs, anything. It's just, and that's all he was doing was just quick little jabs. He again as a grappler, he's a big dude. I think trying to
Yeah.
go into Bellator MMA at like 220, 240 and knowing your whole career was more based on entertainment and I would say like almost like there were like foam toppers in the ring, these guys are,
Right.
yeah, it hurts, but does it really hurt? And then you
No.
go into bare knuckle and that's what he did. He did bare knuckle, but you go into it and you see, wow, like that guy just took a hit to the face and almost lost an eyeball or almost broke his nose. I've been hit in the face once and I was like 15 and that shit hurt.
Yeah, it doesn't
I'll
feel
never,
great.
yeah, I'll never walk back into like anything like that again. I don't plan on it. And I hope you don't either, but if you ever go into bare knuckle, it'll be cool to see.
Oh my gosh, I would be way too scared.
Would you?
Mainly just because I wouldn't want my face to get messed up.
Right. Right.
I'd be worried about that.
No
I'd be like,
yeah, no broken noses, no bad teeth. It's
yeah, I
also,
don't want that to happen.
do you remember when, well, obviously you know this, but I think another thing that like it blows my mind too is these guys are insuring themselves every day that they're taking this damage, these hits, they're insuring themselves.
Well, what a lot of people don't realize too about fighters is like, yeah, they get hit in the fights, but think about how much they get hit in training.
Right.
That's where they get injured a lot of times is in
I
training.
didn't think of that. So it's a lot of it's the training.
It's so much training.
Right.
I always tell people, I'm like, go find an MMA fighter and follow them around for a week.
Right.
And you'll see
what that's like.
what they have to go through. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. And then not only just the fight, but then they have to go do the weight cut. And that's a whole other thing. That's like the fight before the fight is like the weight cut. It's like, can we win this? Okay. Like some fighters, like making weight consumes like so much of their focus.
Right.
That it's like, I can't imagine having to focus on that. And then now you got to fight somebody and you're dehydrated and you haven't eaten really much besides plain chicken breast and rice. And it's like, oh my gosh, it just sounds like such a nightmare.
Well, that's why it's funny you brought that up. That's why I love that Connor will just drink whiskey or like his Irish whiskey and like, I'm going to chug this and then eat whatever. And then I'm going to beat his ass next year.
Well,
whenever it is.
Does bare knuckle have weight classes?
I think so.
Because that was a catch weight fight, I believe. Perry versus Rockhold. But I don't know how their weight classes work. That's the only thing I don't really know about it because I've only watched a handful of their events. But if he fights Mike Perry's naturally, well, when he was in the UFC, he was welterweight.
Right.
So I would assume that neither of them would really have to cut that much weight.
Not too much. Fun. I mean, he's what, 170 now? The guy's yoked. Mike Perry.
Connor is well, Connor's fought at 170 a handful of times.
I like that they
And
almost have the same beard.
but Perry's bigger than him, isn't he?
Yep.
A
They're
little bit.
almost looks like the same height, but Connor I've noticed is just a little bit leaner. I think it's his lats. Like that, because you've seen how Connor has that stretch. And I know recently
Yeah. He's always had really big lats. I never thought about that.
I just blew my mind. Like, because I mean, Mike Perry, though, like,
he's a
dude,
dog.
just insane triceps and insane obliques. Like, just a mind blowing dude. Like, every time, and I'm like looking at a picture now of just him.
You know what's funny about Mike Perry is when he was in the UFC, a lot of people really didn't like him. And he was kind of, I mean, he's a character. He's always
Right.
he's from Florida. He's a character.
Right.
But and then he had like the girlfriend and she was in his corner and like he had so many haters, like so many haters. And a lot of the fighters hated him too.
Right.
And then now he's in bare knuckle and you see him just shine. Like he's living his best life. Like he is living his best life in bare knuckle right now. And I love that for him. Like honestly, I really do, because it's cool to see, because I think that was really affecting him, like where he was kind of having these outbursts. And it's probably because he was just getting so much negativity thrown his way. And now he's in bare knuckle and he's actually doing well. He's found something that he can do well at. And I think that's great because you never want to see a guy just get completely hated on, because it's not like Jake Paul, where it's like when Jake Paul started, like he never really, he wasn't a fighter. He just decided one day he was going to be a boxer. Literally. But Mike Perry's a legit fighter. That's the thing. He's a legit fighter. He's always been a legit fighter. So seeing him now, it's fun. It's like really fun to see.
I like that you brought that up, because the audience carries differently when somebody, it's almost like me just waking up tomorrow, like, hey, I'm gonna go into UFC. And like, that would be pretty mind blowing. But like the first text I would get back from you is, Brandon, you're not going into UFC. Please take this literally. I've been hit in the stomach. I've had to take a breather. You look pretty innocent. You wouldn't hurt a fly. That's like the text that I would expect back from everybody, because it's true. I wouldn't do it. But seeing Jake Paul, though, get cut, lose the weight, because he was a little chunky. Disney, I think, shaped him and made him realize, because you're right. Jake Paul, what he did is reinvented himself.
Yeah, he really
Madonna did it. Yeah, Madonna did it multiple times. So to see Mike Perry do it too, I think is godly. And you're right. When you are hated on as a fighter and you're in the ring, but the only supporter is the person you're in love with, it's the most beautiful thing, because all that noise, there's selective hearing. You can tune that out. And I think I would just be very upset if I lost while looking at the person I love. Like, damn, they just watched me get my ass beat. Are they still supporting me? Do they still look at me as this man? So I think people need to realize UFC it's not like a low expectation. You have to have that's why the roster is so tight. It's like a small family friend circle. And I love that it's not WWE. I think has too much. The turnover rate's insane. But when you go to UFC, that roster stays the same. There are fighters that have been there for 10, 15, I wouldn't say 20 years, but almost, yeah.
There might be a few that have been in for 20 years.
Yeah, I definitely think some too, maybe coaches now, may still do a fight here and there.
They're not fighting all the time though, probably. Well, at least hopefully not. But like Jim Miller, for example, like how long has he been in the UFC? He's been in the UFC for a minute.
Quite some time. The one person I want to see fight, I would love to see Forrest Griffin again. Would love to see Cody Garbrandt again. I love that Cody Garbrandt is small. Like, he's just this small.
Maybe Cody Garbrandt should go to bare knuckle. I'm the bare knuckle recruiter.
Be crazy, though, if Cody Garbrandt went to bare knuckle, like just his weight class, how small. Oh man, I just feel like if he went against Mighty Mouse, like you remember
that would be interesting. In bare knuckle, you mean?
Just two little guys, like two little. I mean, they're very light.
Because Cody did fight at flyweight. Yep. Once or twice, didn't he?
He's lost, I think, the last.
Yeah, he's not really. Well, he won his last fight, right? Barely by decision, I think.
It was last year, right?
No, it was a couple months ago, I think.
Yeah,
I don't even remember who he fought.
He's 12-5 now, so he's got 12 wins.
That's not too bad.
It isn't, and I think
he got rushed in the UFC though. Like he was champ when he was 25, I think.
Right, and
so he was young.
Cody did just book his next fight too. So
good.
Yeah, he's
I hope he turns it around, honestly. I really do. Because I like Cody Garbrandt.
I do too. I don't know what it was. It was really just when I guess I saw a UFC fight and I saw Cody Garbrandt in the Cody Garbrandt. I saw him in the audience and I was like, who's that guy that's all tatted? Dude looks fucking dope. And I was like, he's got a fade and too. Like, who is this guy? And I was like, no way, he's a UFC fighter. And then I Googled and I was like, wait, he's had all these losses. Like, bro. But I get it. When you're still in the UFC and you have losses, but they still have you on the roster, there's something about you. I think Cody, I've noticed on his Instagram, though, he's got a ton of sponsorships. So I'm wondering if like right now that's what's kind of keeping him going is all of these sponsorships, the training, a bit of UFC, because I feel like you said, are you the same after a loss? Well, when you fight two,
Well,
three,
and
four times,
he got really messed up with COVID too, like really bad.
it fucked him up.
Like I think he almost died.
Jesus.
Like it was bad. Like
And I have to remember these guys are like, I don't want to say they have bad hygiene, but you're in a ring with other dudes that are sweaty.
Oh yeah, there's staph infection, ringworm, all kinds of stuff that they have to worry about. Right. Yeah, it's crazy. Just everything that they have to go through, it's insane. And the level of cardio, like, well, especially like last night, BKFC was in Colorado. Mm-hmm. So with Colorado, you get the altitude. So you have to train even harder for those fights because your cardio is not going to be nearly as good as it is if you're not in altitude.
The mountains. So, and you're not lying because I felt it when I arrived last night. I mean, obviously being in Vegas, being up here in the elevation for
even sure. Vegas was a little bit of an adjustment for me. Like Colorado is a whole nother level of like when I got there, I was like, I need my inhaler like right now. but like in Vegas, I was like, okay, I feel like a little different, but it wasn't like that bad. But like Colorado, like imagine just doing a sport in that. It's like, oh my gosh, I could barely walk around without like wheezing and stuff.
In the elevation, yeah, with how it's very different here for sure. Very different. And I definitely like it. Definitely like Vegas, the aspect, the vibes, fighting.
Oh, it's great vibe.
Here. It's nice. It's different though, for sure. And
yeah,
it's kind of what I like. And I know Missouri's kind of small because like I remember in high school too, wrestling, like UFC, MMA. I didn't start really getting into it till I watched Pacquiao fight Floyd, and then Pacquiao retired after that. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm gonna start watching fighting a little bit more, boxing, XYZ. And now it's just completely expanding, and I really, really enjoy it. But I do want to, I kind of have the same aspirations that you do. I want to go. Like I want to go to a fight.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think it would be godly.
It would be so cool. I would just be smiling the whole time. I wouldn't be able to contain my excitement. I would just be vibing. I'd be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm here.
Right. Snapchat, like, Instagram, all of it. Selfie.
Oh man. And if it was like when we're like Rogan and DC and Anik were on the commentary, like I would have to be like I want all that.
Couple steps away, couple seats back.
Yeah.
You'd be sitting next to Mark Wahlberg. And, or like Tom Brady for something. You'd be like, I got cool tickets. And you're like, holy shit, Mark Wahlberg.
That's like my later in life bucket list is go sit cage side UFC. I'm like, first I want to just go. I just want to go experience it. But then later in my life, maybe when I got a little money, then I want to go and I want to sit cage side. I want to experience the whole thing.
Right.
Like Theo Von, he posted a bunch of stuff in his story in the last pay-per-view because he went and he sat cage side. I think he went with Dustin Poirier or something. And he was just like a little kid in a candy store. It was
raging,
hilarious.
That's awesome. I think it's Theo Von's godly. He's probably one of my
oh my gosh, you gotta love him.
Dude, he has just the craziest filter. I love it. I don't even think he's got ADHD. I just think he knows how to capture certain, like knows how to say certain things, but I think it's the very Southern aspect.
Yeah.
Carries that like maybe the values or morals that he has. I don't know what it is, but it's perfect. Like I want to meet his parents. I want to meet his parents. Like how.
Well, his dad was like 70 when he was born.
Oh my God.
You didn't know that?
No, wow.
Yeah.
So young.
His dad died a long time ago. He was born in like, I think like the late 1800s or something like that. Like a long time ago.
Yeah, because
or maybe like 1920 or so. I don't know. But he because Theo Von's 43. So then his dad, if he was still alive now, would be 113.
Oh my God. So his dad definitely was born like right around Henry Ford era for sure.
Yeah, and his dad was way older than his mom. I don't know much about his mom. I think she might still be alive. I'm not sure.
That's
Um,
I didn't know he was
but
40.
yeah. Yeah, he doesn't really seem like it. I guess because he's
No.
such like he's like a grown-up kid, kind of in a way. Like he's just so
Grown-up
goofy.
kid. There's a video that's like asking Theo Von questions. It's like asking him 10 different questions, the most Googled questions on earth. And they're the
That's
craziest
amazing.
questions, craziest things he has to answer. And it's so funny. I love it. Um, I also wanted to thank you for just being able to ask me yesterday to come on as a special
Oh
guest.
yeah,
I wanted to tell
absolutely.
you, I think Barbells and Bangers is great. I think ideally
Thank you.
it's going to go far. I love your setup, the lights in the background, the books, the clearness of your camera, the prep that you
Yeah,
put
I've
in.
been working at. You should watch my early ones. It didn't look this good.
The ones that look like shit,
Yeah, it was. Well, here's the thing. I do all this, and some people may not like realize this, but like I don't know. I was never like really taught how to do this. Like I I don't really I like to figure things out myself. I think that's just who I am. And I don't have anybody really doing any of this for me. Like I do all this myself. So
Right.
like I record it myself, I edit it myself. I mean, I don't edit the podcast, but I adjust the sound and make sure there's, nothing crazy. Like there was one time the sound was like just in one little spot was like completely messed up and it was like really loud for like 1 second. And I'm like,
Yeah.
so like I have to do stuff like that.
Fix things. Yeah. You are
Yeah,
now,
fix things.
you're an editor, you're a producer, you are a
Yeah.
filmographer. You're doing, and I think that's really cool though, because like you said, you can turn these things into a service. And that's the beautiful thing about
Yeah,
podcasting.
well, it's fun because and I can teach other people how to do it because I know how to do it. So then
Yeah,
if I
exactly.
ever wanted to like, if I did want to have a team at some point, which I'm sure if things keep going the way they're going and if it grows enough, then I will need a team because I'm not going to be able to do all this by myself because I've
Right.
got my YouTube channel too and then I'll probably want to start another podcast at some point. So or start another YouTube channel or something. But no, it's really cool because I've learned like from the ground up how to really start it like DIY style. And
Right.
like and I always hear Andrew Huberman talking about like skateboarders and stuff because he used to be a skateboarder and I used to be a skateboarder. Not like a professional skateboarder,
Or
but like
just
when I was a
skating.
kid, I was really into skating. I started skating when
Right.
I was 7. And I had all like the skateboard magazines. I had like, I was just a nerd about it. I loved skateboarding. And but skateboarding in that community there's a lot of that DIY aspect and
Right.
also in punk rock too. And I was into punk rock at one point as well and I was in a band. So I think that DIY is just in my blood.
Hmm.
And so when I decided I wanted to start my podcast and I know people who have like studios and stuff and I could always rent out a studio if I wanted to and all that kind of stuff. But I'm like, I want to do it myself because then it's mine. Then
Right.
I have control over it. It's mine. It's my little thing that I have. And I'm like, yeah, it might not be great right away, but it'll evolve. And I know that when I get feedback and when I keep doing it, that it will get better and it will
Right.
get to the point where I'm like, okay, this is cool. I have something going on here. And so now I'm like finally like getting over that hump of like just the learning curve.
The
Just
independence of it. You have so much
yeah.
independence in your own, and that I find that golden. That's a great trait to carry, and that
It's
goes for
fun.
any aspect of life. Doing things with someone you love or family, friends, people, connections, all of that. I think it's really neat because a lot of people are codependent nowadays. A lot of
Yeah.
people rely on other people. They kind of pawn things off, but besides that, I mean, I love it. I love just the fact that you asked me to be a special guest on here, just a guest in general. I'm always willing to spare my time because I believe in just investing any.
Oh no, I lost you. While we're waiting, let me remind you guys of my favorite company, Well-Being Non-Alcoholic Brewing. I'm wearing the shirt. You can't even see the shirt. I'm rocking the shirt. You can't see it, but I got it on. Gang. Okay. Oh, he's here. Let's bring him back. You're back. Oh,
I
you're
don't.
muted. Oh
I
no,
don't.
you're not. You're back. You're back. Okay, cool.
Hear me
Cool.
now.
Cool. Yep.
Perfect. Yeah, technology. God, I hope. Well, first off, I hope that doesn't like get in the way of the podcast, like being able to edit and cut. Hope that it's easy. At least you're a DIY.
I got this.
Yeah, you definitely. It's almost like handing you $1 million. Like I wouldn't be too worried if you took a couple 100,000 out. I trust you. I hope it all goes well and I didn't f anything up on that end, but technology at its finest, I do apologize.
Yeah, it happens. It's all good.
Yeah, I feel like there's been worse. Like I am waiting for the day like Joe Rogan has a podcast and just like a candle blows up or like he's like this just like my wife's going into labor, got to stop the podcast midway, right?
Oh my gosh.
Like, there's so much worse that could happen, but the one thing I noticed too, and one thing I want to talk about because I don't think we have. So I added you on Facebook like a year ago, and then I started.
It's been that long?
Yeah, almost maybe over a little bit of a year.
I have so many people that add me, and like some people may think that it's like weird, I guess. Well, and I always look if they have like mutual friends, but like I like to meet people. So I'm like, just because I don't know somebody in real life doesn't mean that that we can't be cool. Like,
yeah, that you can't just conversate or communicate with or ask, and maybe not even advice, but just ask about topics.
Yeah. It's networking. I use Facebook more as a networking tool than anything else.
Yeah, and I do too. And that's where I saw your shelter stuff. Not shelter, farmers, I'm sorry.
Farmers, yeah.
And then out of nowhere, just started seeing
I was like
your workout vid. Yeah, you said screw this. Like, yeah, but I also wanted to tell you like your growth of where you've came with your body and like the being fit, getting cut, lean, your food. I've seen it all.
That's been the biggest thing is my diet. And my training too. Cause like when I learned more about training, that's when I started to notice my physique improved. And I was like, oh. But my physique's never really been like my biggest focus. My biggest focus has always been like my health. And the reason I started lifting was actually, and I started lifting, I think like 3 years ago. Before that, I just did like HIIT and cardio and boxing and stuff like that. I never really did lifting, but I started doing lifting, probably a little bit after COVID. And the main reason that I started lifting was because I was trying to find ways to improve my joint pain. And I was like, well, if I strengthen my muscles, then I'll probably have better mobility and I won't have as much pain in my joints. So, but then I fell in love with it. I'm like, oh, this is cool. And I just got addicted to it. I'm like, I love this.
Yeah, you're right. And I've seen it too. I love like your workout vids are great and the things you post and snippets. It's just really neat. Like I've seen the growth over time. And I think a lot of people, what's helped you in a sense is being able to see that visually, like, cool. Wow, this is how I looked before. Most people nowadays don't even take a photo or a video of them just to see their form. And working out nowadays, is it a sport to some 100%, but is it also a hobby, a passion, or maybe like maybe something that's really sentimental to them if they've lost weight even. But I think working out, it goes so far. And gyms back then, and the mentality back then, Arnold Schwarzenegger worked out in flip-flops, sometimes no shoes at all, in a stainless steel gym with other guys that walked around barefoot with staff. Like gross as but people did it. Yeah. Now we're at a time and age where almost everybody you see is idolizing and looking up to bodybuilders, pros, or people who are maybe good at powerlifting or CrossFit, whatever it may be. So I think the inspiration and the enviness really has grown since then. And I think too, a lot of what's nice, and supplements do have an advantage, yes, but a lot of these guys were just small, skinny at one point. Even women, like all small and skinny at one point. A guppy skinny. Right. So was I. So being able to put on mass and being able to like build a bigger chest or build bigger arms at some point in my life, it made me build confidence. But now it's almost like if you miss the gym, you feel like you're missing something. Before it never felt like that. Before it was like, I could take a week off, no big deal. But now I've realized that the gym is not only a hobby. Like I truly understand the mental aspect that the gym provides for everybody. And it's so important to value. And I think a lot of people I don't want to dog on anybody that goes to the gym for a day,
audio.
2-3 days.
You're back.
Cool. Good.
I didn't hear anything you said for like a hot minute.
Okay.
Your audio got messed up, but you're good now.
Perfect.
I can hear you now.
I've noticed that some people may go to the gym maybe once a week or even 3 or 4 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like to point out the fact that if those people were to do that more, maybe mentality wise, they could feel better. And 1 day a week, I've noticed compared to a majority of people who do work sitting down, eventually going to the gym 1 day a week isn't going to benefit you, or you won't see a change. So I always have to think too, the gym is not to be played with. Like that is a place where there's real effectiveness. You don't want to waste your time going there for an hour once a week, two
Yeah.
days a week, and then having an okay diet and expecting like a straight up demographical or geographical change. Like you're almost like a map, like shifts, these body parts are moving and
Right.
muscles are growing in certain areas. So I just think I'm hoping down the road more and more people start to realize like how important it is just to spare even 30 minutes every day, even 25 minutes, work out for 20 minutes, last 5 minutes, do some cardio, whatever it may be. I think everybody's different, but I went from spending 2 hours in the gym
Yeah,
to
I guess for me, I'm more of the camp of less is more sometimes, but only but it depends because like I walk every day, multiple times a day. So I'm doing something every day.
right.
I'm not in the gym every day. Right now I train 3 days a week. And normally I train anywhere from 3 to 6 days a week. Just depends on what split I'm doing. It depends on what's going on in my life too. Like I'm really busy right now. So I'm
Mhm.
like, yeah, let's take it down to like minimum effective dose and let's just do 3 days a week. But one thing that I've noticed that I actually like about doing 3 days a week is that I can go as intense as I want in each workout because I have a full day to recover in between workouts.
Right.
And even if I do cardio on those other days, well, it's not going to take me that much to recover from doing a little bit of cardio.
Right.
Um, but from lifting, if I'm going hard, then I need time. My body needs to recover. But and that's why I do things like ice bath and I do stuff like that. And your diet is important for recovery too. And a lot of people forget about that, how important your diet is and getting protein, how vital that is for your recovery when you're training. It's not just so that you can gain weight or lose weight. Like it
Right.
affects your brain, it affects your recovery, it affects everything. So yeah, so for me right now, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to just kind of balance lifting and cardio. And so I'm hitting the heavy bag at least once or twice a week, sometimes more. And usually I do that for about an hour. And then I'm lifting 3 days a week. And then every single day I take my dog for a walk like 3 times a day.
Okay.
So
That's
just trying to have balance right now, I guess, is what my goal is.
what kind of dog?
She is a Doberman Pit Bull mix.
Ah, okay. So she's
So
definitely
she's
fun to take on the
something
walk.
else. Oh yeah, she's great. She's sometimes she's a pain
Mhm.
because she likes to like sometimes she gets distracted with things, squirrel. Like everything, like she sees a bird fly really fast, she gets so excited. But she's only one, so she's still kind of a puppy.
Yeah.
But
Oh, yeah. Jesus. I
yeah,
feel like
she's funny.
I love that you mentioned squirrel because one thing I did notice is, I have ADHD. I notice you do too, but yeah,
So do I, yeah.
your brain, I love like when people tell me to slow down, I'm like, well, does your brain move 1,000 miles an hour? Like your brain may move slower. Like that's a real thing. ADHD is a real thing where,
Yeah, my brain is like
yeah,
firing on all cylinders all the time.
literally
It overwhelms people. It really does. It overwhelms people sometimes.
it does.
Like
I don't
they're like,
mind it.
whoa.
I don't. You're right though, because I had a buddy, and this was a week or two ago. He was like, "Hey man, you really need to like slow down in your conversations." I go, "I don't." I was like, "I appreciate your transparency, but, like because you can't process like how I'm communicating. That doesn't mean I need to slow down.
Yeah.
Communication. It's more of just having to process like, okay, like when I talk to a person who's talking really fast, I'm okay with that. I'm not going to tell them to slow down. It doesn't essentially insinuate that you're not listening, but it essentially insinuates that you don't like that person's communication. Like when somebody's like, hey,
Yeah.
you need to slow down. Well, right, but this is the way I communicate. This is the way you communicate. Some people have ADHD. Some people's brain sporadically moves really quick. And sometimes we just forget things, and I think that's what, and
Yeah.
for me, it's all the time.
And I don't take medication either. So I'm just like
I don't
I'm
either.
all ADHD all the time. I used to. I couldn't take them anymore. I was
Oh,
just
the
like I
meds, the
can't take that. I
Concerta,
feel
the
like a drug
Adderall,
addict.
none of that. Yeah, and it
Oh
definitely. I have
God,
a
it's
buddy
terrible.
also. I have a buddy who stopped when he was 18, I think 18 or 19. I stopped when I was 16. I was just on different doses and doses and doses, and eventually just told my doctor, "Hey, I'm done. I am not eating in school. I feel
Yeah.
like a zombie. I'm out." And then
Yeah.
by 18, I was in a relationship, fell in love, met somebody. I gained like 60 pounds, and then that was my start to like my pure relief of stress in the gym. And I love the saying, like, iron is the best stress, or breakups make bodybuilders. I am by no mean a bodybuilder,
It's
but
true.
yeah, do I actively work out and feel like I've progressed and gotten better and people recognize that? Yeah, I think growth is very important. We all go through trials and tribulations of weight loss or wanting to better our body, but it's good that you have that recognition. Some people do not have that recognition. So yes, could you and I have a diet and be okay for the rest of our lives? But yeah, we could. But if somebody
Yeah.
comes up to us and says, "Hey, like this is affecting your health," I'm going to take that proactively and really consider
Yeah.
my health. It's not and that's the one thing I think people need to stop clunking together is health and just diet.
Yes.
Your health is your diet. Like your diet is your health. So
Yes.
you eat healthy, you get healthy results. You eat like all the time, you're going to get bad results. And then those bad results tend to come out in very necessary ways from doctors. So we may not want to hear it. I may not want to hear from a doctor that I have stage 3 cancer, but if he tells me I'd ideally like to know now, then on my deathbed. So I'd rather know working
Yeah.
out and diet. I think some people need to really sink in and think, man, I could live an extra 10 years if I just work out. I could live an extra 15 to
Yeah.
20. I just eat an avocado every day. Who knows?
I think that's the problem. I think people just think of right now. They don't think of 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now. They're thinking about just right now. And yeah, like right now I could eat Taco Bell and McDonald's every day and I'd probably still look the same. Like I mean I might look a little bit worse, but I probably still look the same. Like it wouldn't really change my physique probably that much. But just cuz I trained so hard and I train consistently and I have for a while, but it's like that's not why I eat the way that I eat. It's not has nothing to do with how I look. And I wish people would separate the aesthetic from like the health a little bit more and like start realizing that diet and exercise is vital for your health. Because as you age, if you don't do resistance training, you lose muscle mass every single year. Like
Right.
you're losing muscle mass if you are not training. So even just to avoid losing muscle mass, let alone put more on, like you need to at least be doing like a couple days a week. Like at least do something. Doesn't even have to go crazy. You don't have to be Chris Bumstead, but just do a little bit. Just do something because it's better than nothing. It's better than nothing, and that's what most like a lot of people are doing right now is nothing. And I get it because it's like I think the problem is a lot of people they're always looking for a solution. They're like, "Oh, I need to lose weight," or "Oh, I need to be more healthy, so I'm gonna go on this diet, or I'm gonna do that, or I'm gonna
Right.
take this supplement." And it's like, why don't you just start from the very basics, from the fundamentals of how's your sleep, how's your diet, and are you training? If you start there, you'll realize you don't need any of that extra stuff to get
Exactly. You
the
don't.
results that you want to get most of the time. Yeah, you really don't. You can just focus on those three things. I always tell people just focus on those three things. Just focus on that. Don't overcomplicate it. And that's I think a big problem that we have right now is we've made it so overcomplicated. And it's like, what are we doing?
Exactly. We have.
Like
You are right.
why are we making people have to do all this math and like even with just like tracking your macros and stuff, like I think that's a good idea for people who are like maybe getting into the more advanced level and maybe they're wanting to pursue like a career in fitness or stuff like that, or if they're trying to lose a large amount of weight, then yeah, that's important. But if you're just trying to be healthier, or if you just maybe want to get toned, as everybody says, if that's your only goal, I don't really know if all that's necessarily gonna get you there. I mean, it'll probably help you get there a little faster, but you don't need all that. And if that's going to be a barrier from getting you to being consistent, then I say just eliminate it and just keep it simple. If you keep
I
it
agree.
simple, then it's going to be easier for you to be consistent. So, but that's just my thought. That's my opinion.
I think it's a great
Everybody has their own opinion on it.
it's a great valid opinion though too, because macros are advanced, and people, I remember when I was younger and people came up
Yeah.
to me, you need to count your macros. I'm like, dude, I don't think you understand. If I don't know macros,
Arnold didn't count his macros.
exactly. And a lot of these kids in the gym aren't counting their macros. And how can you expect us that don't want to be at that pro level to count them? And I've also been able to, the one thing I can say though is I've eaten an avocado every day, and you can definitely put on some fat for sure. I have eaten an avocado every day.
Oh yeah.
Every day. Not today in the last 2 days, but every day I do. Whether it's dip or like spicy avocado dip, just like a self-serving that like gives you the portion amount. But I've realized like, okay, but I'm putting on size and I'm okay with that. But I also look at it from a perspective of knowing what works for me. And you're right, the basics. What are the basics? Complex and simple and complex carbs. We all know that. It's very common. I think the most common thing that people need to understand more is meat is key. And yes, could we not eat meat and still get big? I'm sure there are plenty of vegans and vegetarians out there, but ideally everyone has.
I was vegetarian for a long time. I mean, I was skinny, but I wasn't. This was way before I got into working out and stuff. This was
Also
when I was
younger,
like a teenager.
you were probably also younger.
Yeah, I was a lot younger. When I became vegetarian. I was vegetarian for a long time, for years. But now I do eat meat, and I eat meat pretty much every day. And I don't know that there's any right or wrong way to diet. I think that it just depends on what's important to you and what foods first of all do you like, and then also what is going to help you get to your goals. So like I don't track macros, but I do know like generally how much protein I'm eating every day, because if there's one thing that I want to track, it's protein. Because I want to make sure I'm at least getting enough protein. And I usually do, but I do kind of just pay attention. I'm like, okay, I've had like 60 grams of protein so far today. Okay, so I need to eat like maybe another couple pieces of chicken. Like I keep track of it in my head. I don't keep track of it formally, like written down, but I keep track of it in my head. I know generally how much protein is in, and I look and see how much protein I'm eating and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's important to just know the basics of nutrition and then kind of sculpt your diet around, okay, what foods am I going to eat every day? Because I think the biggest mistake people make when they start a diet is they go like crazy. They're like, all right, I'm just going to eat chicken and rice and broccoli every day for 6 months, and that's all I'm going to eat. And it's like, you're going to get sick of that so fast.
Yep.
And it's like, do you even like chicken and broccoli and rice? Probably not. So maybe find something, or maybe chicken, broccoli, and rice one day, and then like another day you have like a burrito bowl or something. Like just find things that you enjoy, maybe like 5 or 6 meals that you enjoy, and just make those consistently, kind of swap them out, every now and then. And you'll probably be fine. Because if you don't like what you're eating to the point where it's like you're scarfing it down, like where you're having to like shove it down your throat, it's like, then that's not going to be sustainable. It's just not.
I agree.
Unless you're a bodybuilder, competitor, and you have to eat like that, then it's like, find recipes that are healthy, that you enjoy, that aren't ultra processed, and where it's mainly whole foods. And then here and there have your cupcake and whatever. Don't get rid of those things, because you got to have joy in your life. But just try to make 80% of what you eat really good whole foods, and then maybe 20% is just like you give yourself a little leeway. That's my philosophy. I don't know.
Like that. It goes to show, it's funny you said that, because like the burrito bowls are great, and like I think the one thing people can't turn away from is flavor. They try something maybe like a club grilled chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A. The classic of all, delicious. It's got lettuce, bacon, tomatoes, whatever the you want on it. It's so good. I think people end up craving things that they know, well, it's not fast food. but it's healthier than fast food. Okay, well, do you know what's healthier than fast food and that's healthier than Chick-fil-A? It's just a chicken breast, seasoned broccoli and rice.
Right.
If you, and like you said too, it's not sustainable for people who don't even like that stuff. I have a buddy who's actually in
Right.
Vegas with me, but he hates poultry. He hates steak.
There
Hates steak.
are a lot of people like that. Okay, that's just weird, but
Yeah. Well, when he said he hated steak, I was a little upset. I wasn't mad because I wanted to
you're
feed him
like,
like
I'm
a ribeye.
concerned.
It's a texture
I,
thing.
I wanted to feed him like a ribeye
Wow.
at that point. And it is a texture thing
Yeah.
for him. So, but he
Okay. That
loves
makes
anything
more
chicken.
sense.
Yeah, he'll eat anything chicken, but his go-tos, he's got the best metabolism out there. He can eat McDonald's and Taco Bell all day, and he has a great metabolism. So he's very lucky. But he sees his brother gaining a little bit of a gut, so he's like, shit, it's gonna catch up to me too. Like,
It will, and that's why like sometimes I'll have like a few days where I eat bad. I'm like, oh, I gotta snap out of this. I gotta snap out of it because I know where this goes. This is a slippery slope. But as long as you can recognize that though, and don't let yourself go down those rabbit holes of where, oh, it's the seventh day in a row that I've gotten McDonald's. What am I doing?
right.
As long as you can snap out of it, then you're good. But
If I had a
sometimes it's
great
hard because you're like, man,
metabolism,
this is
I agree with you. It is hard because if I had a great metabolism and could work out and could eat fast food and get yoked off of that, I would. I mean, I legitimate if there were better.
I think I probably could. Like I have a pretty good metabolism as it is. And I say that because I don't want people to think that like I have some secret, like of what I'm doing. Like I have this certain exercise I do that just melts away fat. Like no, like I have a pretty good metabolism to begin with. Like I'll just be honest right there. And I probably have pretty good genetics too. So I've got that, but then I also have lupus. So it's like it kind of balances it out. So I have to eat healthy because I have to reduce inflammation because lupus is triggered by inflammation. So if I eat a bunch of crap, then I'm going to feel like crap. And even if I didn't have lupus, it makes you feel like crap. And I notice the difference like when that's why I eat sweet potatoes and stuff all the time and like broccoli and just stuff like that because not because I like it. I mean, I like sweet potatoes, but like I could go the rest of my life without eating broccoli again, and I think I'd be okay.
Oh
but
yeah,
I eat stuff like that because it makes me feel better. That's why I eat it. It has nothing to do with how I look. It's because of the way it makes me feel. And I wish people would realize how much better they would feel if they ate better. I mean, I don't know. For me, it's like night and day.
I agree though, and it is night and day, 100%. Because I could eat asparagus every day. I could eat it every day, seasoned.
Yeah.
Broccoli though, like, honest opinion, it tastes like by the day two. Like, oh, I'm eating. And even if you were to,
oh yeah,
steam up a whole bag and you ate half of that bag and save the rest of the broccoli for next day, it's just a turn off. It discolors. You eat it anyways, whatever. But that's vegetables. I feel like it's just veggies. I have to remember every day and tell myself like these are plants. Like this is not genetically made. It's gonna look like it may not taste the best, but with the right seasoning. And I think it's also too, what is the one meal that like is very common and they sell it everywhere? It's Texas Roadhouse. You can get chicken, broccoli, and potatoes. So people eat that.
Oh yeah.
And then they go home and it's like 4 out of 10 compared to but Texas Roadhouse is just using salt and pepper, maybe nature seasoning. That's it. They're not doing anything different that you should be doing. So I think some people,
yeah,
this is just me. I think some people are just late on flavors, seasonings, what you can do to food to make it taste 10 times better. And
yeah, I have like 3 different things full of different seasonings. I love seasoning. I use seasoning on everything. I'm like,
chips,
I'm not gonna
ice
eat
cream, yogurt,
bland chicken. Yeah, and I'm not gonna eat that either. So I'm gonna make the healthy food taste better.
Exactly.
That's
right.
I don't know. That's the easier way for me to eat it because I can't eat stuff if it's not seasoned.
It's more natural. It's also more natural. One pack of chicken breast, 6 to 8 is what, 10, $12. You go to Chick-fil-A, 2 chicken sandwiches is $12. Why would I buy 2 chicken sandwiches?
At least.
Yeah, at least. That's just without anything on it. Why would I do that
Right.
when I can get chicken breast, bread them, and then make my own sandwiches for the next 5 days? It just
Yeah.
seems more logical. But then
It's
again,
because it's easy. It's easy to go to Chick-fil-A. You don't have to do anything. You just go and you just show up. But it's like if you add up the driving to Chick-fil-A, sitting in the drive-through, then driving back home, you're probably spending about the same amount of time. It's just you're not doing anything. You're just sitting in your car. So you're
yeah,
like, okay, I'm just
right.
waiting for my food. It's instant gratification.
Have you seen those they're funny videos they've been made recently where these guys are going to the gym with these little grills, these like little stove pot grills, like I'm very like maybe it's like 2 feet by 2 feet, very, very, decent sized,
Really?
very boxy. Yeah. And these guys are going to the gym with chicken breast in the locker room, cooking them next to like older dudes, 50s, 60s, 70s, give or take. And they're like, hey man, I'm just got done working out. I'm about to make some chicken breast. You want one real quick? And he
Oh, I think I have seen
uh
that. Okay, yeah, I know what you're
so
talking about
funny,
now.
so
That's
funny. And this
hilarious.
this one guy was like, you're really making chicken breast? He goes, yeah, you want one? And he goes, yeah, sure. And he cooked it and like just handed it to him like a potato. And the guy just started eating it like that. And I'm like, oh, this is so funny. Like he caught the guy at the end of the camera, at the end of the video for like 4 seconds of him just diving into this chicken breast. And I thought it was so funny because
That's
I'm
hilarious.
like, I'm like, well, this is like an off-brand Lifetime Fitness. Like you have a little restaurant in here, whatever it is to serve food. Well, these guys are doing it too in the gym. And I just find it hilarious. I mean, it's convenient. I found it funny, but I also think that'll happen in the future. I gradually think more gyms will start to expand and realize, okay, well, if we want to be bigger and better, what can we do more for our customers? How can we
Yeah, have
act-
like a meal prep service or something like that.
yeah, right. How can we actually serve them? Even if Supplement Superstore was to be sponsored out at certain gyms and say, hey, we want to start meal prepping. It's something we have with Supplement or First Form. We'd love for that to be sold at the gyms. And I've noticed that there are some meal prepping companies in St. Charles. You can like stop
Yeah.
by, get your meals, whatever. But I think that will expand down the road and more because these people get these smoothies thinking that these like protein shakes from the gym, these smoothies are healthy, but they're loading it with like 3, 4 spoons of peanut
Yeah,
butter.
it's really just a way for you to conveniently get more protein. It's really all it's for. It's not something not going to make you any better or
Right.
healthier. It's just
They're
going to
also
give you more
expensive.
protein.
It's almost $7.
Yeah, I know. It's insanity.
That's the
I
price
don't
of
know
a
how people
beer.
afford it.
And I don't either because
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people go there and they get one every day. I'm like, damn, you do realize it's cheaper to
Yeah,
buy your own
that's too much for
protein.
me.
Well, yeah, you can get protein for 30, 40 bucks. Why would you, that'll last almost a month. Why would you pay $20 a week on smoothies? Now, granted, Smoothie King I give an advantage to because I get mine, I get the smallest because the smallest is still big. But
It's still
uh,
pretty yeah, it's a lot.
it is. And fun fact, if you like the Gladiator, it has 45 grams of protein. Well, you can put that in an 8-ounce cup.
Yeah,
It's
that's a good
huge.
amount of protein.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In an 8-ounce, why would I get, and then I see some people going and getting a 32 ounce. I'm like, oh my God, that's like
Yeah, I can't
2,000
even finish it cuz
calories.
that's like can you even absorb that much protein? You know, if what if there's like 80 grams of protein in there? Like, does that even make sense? I mean,
Right.
I guess if you
And
save half of it for later or something.
and you're
I don't know
right.
if that's the most efficient. Yeah, I don't
You're
know,
right. I've thought about
but
it too.
I don't even know. I don't even know. There's so many conflicting views on that, on like how much protein you can absorb in one meal. I don't know. I just don't even, because that's just too much. You're doing too much at that point. It's
I
like,
think you're right.
who cares?
I think when
Like,
you eat the same meals every day, it gets easier because you're right though. It'd be
yes,
different
it
if
does.
somebody was to leave the gym and say, well, I'm gonna eat 3 chicken breasts as opposed to one. Well, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like your protein consumption has been very consistent and proper for the last week or
Right.
two. Why would you up that up in one meal when you could space that out throughout the day and give your body enough time to
It's
digest all
also
that?
hard to eat that much protein. Like I see there's some fitness accounts I follow and like they'll joke around of like having to like scarf down their protein or like
Yeah.
force themselves to eat their chicken breast, because it's like, yeah, sometimes you really have to like force yourself to get enough protein. It's hard because it fills you up,
Right.
because you're like, oh,
And they're
I don't think I
smoking.
need to eat anymore.
Right. Some of them are getting stoned to eat more so they can scarf that down.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know how else they would do it, because it's like your appetite is your appetite. I mean, you can't really change that too much without, you can suppress it, or you can, yeah, you can smoke weed and your appetite will go out through the roof. But
Especially in a deficit,
yeah,
like
it's
a
interesting.
caloric deficit.
Yeah.
That's so true because a lot of people um, do that and then they get into a caloric deficit. Some people too, I think, get into the point where they think they've absorbed enough protein or I've eaten enough today where I can snack out, pig out, and this and that. The only reason why I try not to eat a lot of sweets is because I crave more and more and more. If I eat one, that turns
Yes.
into two, two turns into three, three turns into four. It's just, and like you said earlier, slippery slope of the diet of saying, hey, a couple days eat bad, but eating bad every night after 10 o'clock, which a lot of people do, I think it gets to the point where it's like, hey, you've got to really reevaluate what kind of diet do you want? Do you want to work out and then have a
Yeah.
little bit of fat, or do you want to work out and be toned and lean, or do you want to lift really heavy, do cardio so that you can eat some of those sweets once in a while? So that's what I tend to do. I like to lift
Right.
heavy, do cardio, so that I can, cool, I'll have a blueberry muffin today, a big one, one of the big ones in the gas station, or I might go to Breadco. I'll do this
Right.
all the time now, weekly. I go to Breadco and I get a bagel, like the cinnamon crunch one.
Oh, those are so fire.
That's phenomenal. And it's great. I'll go there and I'll sit there and work. And I'm like, well, this is perfect. It's a carb. It's great. It's not like I'm eating 3 bowls of rice. It's just a bagel. I'll burn this off at the gym, no problem. Maybe go for a nice jog. But at
Right.
least I correlate what I eat with my workout. So some people may sit there and say,
Right.
well, yeah, I ate like today, but I'm only going to go to the gym for 20 minutes. All right. Well, if you ate like going to the gym a little bit longer might be more beneficial. So I try to tell myself, well, I ate a bagel. That means I need to do a little cardio. Like I need to use some of that energy. I need to use some of those carbs. I need to make sure my workouts are not delayed, that there aren't too many rest in between.
Yeah.
So, but I also do that the same with fasting. Like sometimes I won't work, or sometimes I'll fast in the morning. I'll take my and yeah, you can say a protein shake cuts a fast, but I don't think so. Like for me, it doesn't. I only take a protein shake most mornings between like the hours of 10 and 12, and then I'll take my DB overdrive and thyroid drive for my thyroids, and then I'll go straight to the gym, and it feels great. But I say that because I've gone to the gym after meals, like even giving it 2 hours, and I still can't, my lift is not insane.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy, because I have to eat before I train. I can't train if I don't eat first. I have to
And then
eat
you have energy.
within a couple hours.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't have any energy if I don't eat, unless I'm just doing cardio. If I'm just doing cardio, I can do that fasted. But lifting for some, and I don't know why, but I know a lot of other people that are the same way, where I have to eat, and I have to eat after. So I always eat 1 or 2 hours before I train, and then I eat 1 or 2 hours after I train. Or sometimes I eat immediately after I train, because I'm just like, I need food now.
Yeah, I need food. And especially if you're
Um,
doing the training that you're doing,
yeah.
barring once in a while, going in to beat the out of bags for an hour or two, that's cardio. I mean, that's everything at a max. It's calisthenics,
Yeah.
it's
I notice
everything.
too, when I do cardio, I'm way hungrier than when I just lift.
Right.
Like I'm like, oh my gosh, I need food now. And I want like carbs, I want everything. I'm like,
I
give
noticed you
me
eat a
all
lot
of
of
it.
fish. You eat a lot of fish, I've noticed.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, I eat everything.
Everything. I love it.
And
That's
that's what
awesome.
surprises people. I'm like, I eat salmon, I eat chicken, I eat bacon, I eat steak, I eat tofu, like I eat vegan stuff too. Like I eat everything, cuz I love food. Like I'm not a person that just loves some food. Like I just love food. There's very few things I don't like. Like I don't like olives that much. But I'll
You
eat it if I have to, but
cover
I
the
don't like
nose.
it, especially green olives. Green olives, I'm like, oh, I don't know. I can't do that. No, thank you. But I love olive oil and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, olive
Um,
oil's
so
classic.
it's weird. But I like everything. There's really not much that I don't like. Except for food that's unseasoned. That I don't I have no patience for that.
But and you are that's a very valid point because I can't eat anything that's like, hey, if I know that meat's unseasoned, I don't mind a burger because I love the natural taste of tomatoes, lettuce, onions, and pickles.
Yeah,
So I
right.
don't mind a seasoned burger, but I love the blend of taste that's the point of a burger. I think anyone who eats a plain burger is just plain themselves. It says a lot about their personality. Like, hey, what'd you have today? A burger. What kind? Just the beef? Bro, that is not a burger. A burger is
Right. At least put
like,
some cheese on it or something.
yeah, even some pepper jack habanero, a
Something.
jalapeno slice, like something, dice it up,
Yeah.
make it taste good, So I think even like I think it's and this blows my mind, but it's the same thing with like, you know, um, I can't say that I've been to a restaurant where I haven't had food that isn't seasoned, but do I not like the steak at Applebee's? 100%. Do I think that certain restaurants shouldn't be making some things? Yeah, I think that
Yeah.
at the end of the day, making food naturally, it's great. It's easy. You can do it on your own. You twist it up, play with it, and then you end up creating things that not only you'll love, but then when those people try it that haven't been exposed to it, they really like that. So, for
Yeah.
example, and I want to tell you this because I want you to make it sometime. I started using fajita Taco Bell seasoning on my chicken. So I'll cut the chicken breast. I'll get the fajita seasoning from Taco Bell from Walmart, just a packet. I'll use that with salt and pepper and my chipotle chili powder. I shit you not, that is a Southwest Beach bowl from Mission Taco. I put my spicy avocado in there, just a cup. It's like 4 or 5, maybe 6 cups for $4. So it's a great deal, under $1 per cup, as opposed to three,
I
four,
never
five.
thought to do like a fajita seasoning. That
Dude,
actually you could
so
do that with chicken
I
or steak.
did. Yes,
That
I
sounds
do it with
fire.
my steak. I do it with the white rice, and I'll put the white rice in there. I'll heat it up with the cups. Just heat it up in the microwave for a minute. The minute made rice, and then I'll do my guacamole, and then I will add the chicken in there with peppers. And I don't go to Mission Taco anymore because I can make it on my own. So when people are like, "Hey, let's go to Mission Taco," I'm like, "You're talking about my house, right? Like you're not talking about Mission Taco." So I love it.
Right.
I really enjoy it. It's something I now incorporate in my food every day is fajita seasoning. Now, is there a lot of
Oh,
salt? Yes, but do I sweat that out? Oh yeah.
nice.
You good?
I'm gonna reset my video really quick. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
you're
wigging
good.
out.
No, do your
It's
thing.
wigging out.
You see that at the
Give me one
bottom?
second. I'll be right back.
Cool.
Okay, let's see. It's still wigging out.
At the bottom, like the gray tab.
Hold on one second. Yeah, it's like it's crazy. I don't know what's going on.
At least it
Oh
wasn't
well.
like a camera from Wish. Came
Can
like
you
this
still hear
side.
me okay?
Oh yeah, I can hear you golden.
Okay, good. At least you can hear me. That's annoys me.
Oh, this
I
is
don't
a
know what
4K
happened. It
camera.
was
Yeah,
working perfectly.
your skin is
It was
fluorescent.
working just fine. Oh, maybe if I turn off the HD, maybe that would do it. Let's try that. Nope, it's still going crazy. I don't know what is going on.
Is that a clock behind you?
See, this is why I need help. Yeah, but I is my clock? I never changed my clock.
Oh
I
yeah,
was like, wait,
I was like, you're an
it's
hour
only
before me.
3:30? I didn't even I was like, it's only 3:30, and then I'm like, did I forget to change my clock from daylight saving? Because I never look at my clock. I use it as an alarm clock.
You said daylight
Because
saving.
it's yeah, I'm so dumb. So this alarm clock actually, like, it will wake you up with light instead of like a that's not a great way to wake up. So it will gradually increase the brightness of the light, and it mimics like sunlight. So you wake up more naturally, and then it'll slowly, you'll hear like birds chirping, and it'll slowly get louder and louder and louder until like your alarm time. So that's the alarm that I use. That's what that's for. So I don't really care what time is on it so much. I guess that's why I never changed it, because I didn't pay attention. But I get to plug my alarm clock here, and tell you about my sweet alarm clock that I
I think it's
think was
badass.
like
I love your alarm noises.
$80 or something.
Your alarm noises are
I think,
great.
yeah, it was expensive. So you know what? I'm going to show it off.
I love it. I think it's dope.
The
I
most
think it's
expensive
really
alarm clock I've ever bought, for sure. But
it's a
it
good
helps me a
investment.
lot because I have a lot of trouble waking up in the morning. Like it's probably a huge flaw of mine, but yeah, I don't do well with waking up in the morning. I like to wake up naturally, just whenever my body is ready to wake up. I like to wake up. So I was like, well, I'll get this alarm clock because then maybe that'll make it a little bit easier for me to get up in the morning. It's not like an alarm just screaming at me because I wake up and I'm like, oh, it's already morning. Damn it!
Yeah, why isn't it? Yeah, can the time freeze, please?
I need more sleep.
I'm the
Yeah,
same way. Like
for
when it's
sure.
that's why I'm happy to be in Vegas though, is because it's 2 hours back. So like when everybody else is working, I'm still gonna be in bed. So it'll be really nice. Because I
Right.
didn't take off. I'm still
That's
gonna work.
good.
I'm gonna work from here for a couple days, but I literally thought about taking off the whole week to be honest with you. But at that same time, I'm not in a rush. I love my job.
Yeah,
I love working and I love what I do and allows me to
that's
have the
good.
it is, and it also allows me just to have the flexibility of being able to work out. But I'm the same way too. Like the morning, I have recently went from waking up at like 6:30 to now 8. So my body is telling me something like, hey, take a little bit of a rest. Go to the gym during the day. Stop going early in the
Yeah,
morning. So I'm okay
I
with
had
that.
to stop doing that too.
Yeah, because it's early. You put your body in such a position to like, hey, your mind was ready, but was your body ready? So I think it's the ADHD
Right.
in you and I and other people, but it's the
Yeah,
I look at it as we're extraordinary. I don't give a shit. We have superpowers and nobody can change that. So
that's right. That's how I look at it. I lean into my ADHD as much as I can. And that's
as
why
you
I do stuff
should.
like this. Because it's something that I can do and I can thrive in because it fits my personality. And then I can also have like other things going on too. Like I think that's the biggest thing. And I talked about this with my friend Emily on another episode we did. But I feel like I do best when I have like multiple things going on.
Mhm.
It prevents me from getting bored, and it also prevents me from getting complacent because I constantly have new challenges and new things I need to learn, and also just I have variety. If I do the same thing every day, I go nuts. I can't do it. It's
Right. I'm
just
the same
it's
way.
not
Like
it
this,
doesn't fit me.
I I was really looking forward to doing this because I knew it was going to take time out of my day, but I also was really glad that you asked because I'm always willing to spare time. And as we talked about earlier, time being the biggest investment. There are other things too, but ADHD it is something to lean on because we as people with a
Yeah.
brain that moves 1,000 miles an hour, it's a little bit harder for us to be complacent. We find DIY, right? I think ADHD helps people find other
Yeah.
ways to do things. And the
Yeah,
people
it
that
does.
the people that are possibly codependent, I don't want to say they don't have ADHD, it's just the way they were raised. I think some people were raised differently to rely on others more. And that's a normal thing. There are
Yeah.
certain people who strictly are codependent, who have separation issues, who can't be away from anybody, who can't do things alone. And the gratification of being able to successfully run your own podcast on your own to now being able to have guests and you feel comfortable and you know how to talk, you know how to look, you know your style, you know who you are. It's not like you're coming in here with your glasses off and cleavage hanging out. You're you. You come in here being you. And that's where
Yeah,
you
well, and I think that's a big thing that I really like about kind of transitioning my content from or before it was mostly just fitness stuff to now doing the podcast cuz with fitness I didn't feel like I could fully be myself. And I also felt like it was so focused on appearance
Mhm.
and your physique and all this stuff, and I'm like, well, I'm a lot more than just my physique, and I'm a lot more than just how I look and all that. So I'm like, when I do the podcast, I don't want to, you know, yeah, like you said, wear scandalous outfits and do what, maybe some people might think is the easiest way to get attention, which
Right.
maybe it is. I don't know. But I would rather get attention for what I'm saying and what I'm doing than for how I look.
For who you
And
are. Yeah,
so
me too.
that's what I like about the podcast. Yeah. I really like that aspect of it because I feel like some people, yeah, they get to the point where everything is so about their physique, but then it's like, wait a second, like, hey, I'm still a human. I'm interesting. I have, things to say, and I'm cool. And so, yeah, you kind of forget that. And even with like a lot of athletes too, I feel like it's kind of cool now with podcasting that we get to see a little bit more of their human side and not just see them, in the octagon or in the ring or wherever. It's like you can actually just see them talking and being human, and I think that's cool. And I think that's what I love about podcasts because it's just real and raw, and yeah, like there's some podcasts out there that are like more scripted or like, and usually it's because it's a more serious professional subject. Like Andrew Huberman's podcast, for example,
Right,
is one I
right.
listen to, and I'm pretty sure his podcast is probably scripted. It has to be. If he's coming up with all that stuff on the top of his head, then oh my god.
Yeah,
Uh,
right,
but
right.
I'm pretty sure it's scripted. But because he goes for like out for 3-4 hours, but so there are podcasts that are like that, but I love those kind of podcasts too. But I really love the ones, and I love like comedy podcasts, and I love podcasts with like fitness and MMA because it's just you're just being you and you're just talking and having a conversation. um and I think COVID really changed that for podcasting because we craved that so much during COVID. And then it was like, oh, here's podcasts where you can kind of feel like you're hanging out with these people because they're having a conversation and you're just kind
Right.
of sitting there listening to their conversation. So
That's
I
so
think that's
true.
cool. I that's what I love about it.
Pre-COVID, post-COVID definitely changed some things. And I now feel
Yeah.
like that's like a time era. Like people can be like, oh, well, when were you born? Oh, during COVID. Like give or take like 15,
Right.
20 years down the road, like COVID babies are
Oh
just
yeah.
different. Like it's trippy.
Yeah.
It's wild to think about how it changed everything from a simple uh like a simple change in a shift in the world and life to now being very complex to like what people are doing. And there was a video I just saw recently too on social media how like everybody, if we put everybody in like a restaurant, most of the time those people are like on their phones taking pictures of the food. Well, what if you put 100 babies in that same room? They're all going to look at these adults with their phones in their hand. Like they're not, those babies can't comprehend or reciprocate it, but they know damn well like, oh, that's like a toy, like to them, like a toy to a
Right.
baby. So I think we're just setting the world up for things we shouldn't be. I don't want to necessarily blame Apple. Is it great? Yes, but could we still function back in '06 just like the way we did back then to what we do now? Yes. I think if everything was still the same, it would just be twice as hard work, but the economy would be slightly different, I feel like. People would be slightly different. The values and morals of what people want and want to do, that will be slightly different. So I just hate, and like you said, using social media as a business tool, I just hate that people look at everything as social media. Like LinkedIn is not social media. Facebook is a
Yeah.
business tool. Now you see more than anything on like the video page of Facebook, it's mostly podcast. It is not some
Yeah.
dumbass, doing something that isn't beneficial. Most of these people are making money and they're sitting there thinking, wow.
Right.
And so Gary Vee predicted it that LinkedIn was going to be the next Facebook. And it truly is. I use LinkedIn every week because I work for a company that uses it.
Really? See, I haven't really done I have LinkedIn. I barely use it. I check it
You should you should
once a
post
month,
I
maybe.
really think you should put your podcast. Like I would follow you on there and share them all the time, but I think you
See,
should put
I've
your
always thought of LinkedIn as like so professional. Is it different
yeah.
than that now?
So it is
Okay,
super.
I'll
So
try
like,
it.
it's funny because I love that question because people that like, this is the funniest thing I hear. I can't find any jobs on Indeed. Well, why are you on Indeed? Like, what are you on
Yeah.
Indeed for? Like, I'm trying to find a
Yeah. I
job.
don't think
Right.
I've ever found a great job on Indeed.
Yeah. On Indeed.
Most
They're
of
all,
any good job I've ever had, I was usually recruited
mhm,
for, or I knew somebody who worked there and
right.
they got me hired. That's usually how that's how I got to farmers.
Right.
because I knew a farmer's agent, and he sent me to the district manager and was like, "Hey, here's somebody you should hire."
Right. It was
And then I got
literally
hired.
it, and that's neat that you because that's proper. Like recruiting now is bigger than ever, but Indeed was just setting people up for hourly jobs. People that maybe parents or families that were like, look, I need 80,000 a year. I made 100K last year. I want to make 120, but I can't do it because of Indeed. Well, then you should be on LinkedIn where all of these massive corporate companies are looking to pay that out to people with experience like you.
Right.
So LinkedIn is a pure advantage now. I've recommended so many people to use it because I get in-mails every week now from people that are like, hey, do you want to work here? Can we interview you? And but I'm in
Hmm.
logistics and supply chain. So there are freight companies all over the world that'll hit me up XYZ because of LinkedIn. LinkedIn too, it's easier that's how recruiters get you. You're on LinkedIn, well, so are recruiters. Those recruiters are looking at people everywhere on LinkedIn, new positions, new transfers, relocating. Oh, hey, I just saw you got this promotion. Well, we could pay you more than what you just got promoted, XYZ. Like it's just so different. And it is competitive. It is very competitive for these recruiters. But
Yeah.
Indeed is like, it always cracks me up because I would never use Indeed for a big boy job. I wouldn't even suggest Indeed for people who want to make a really good income.
Yeah, to me that's for like a dead end job or like a temporary job or just something to pay your bills. Like it's not really you're not gonna find yeah, you're probably not gonna find like your true calling, your career
Hell
on
no.
Indeed. Most
Hell no.
likely.
That's
Yeah.
so true. That's
It's
so
it's
true.
funny though. What do you so that's interesting. So what do you think about like the future of Facebook or a meta, I guess as they call it? Like
Heck.
cuz to me, I'm starting to kind of fade away from Facebook
Mhm.
a little bit. I don't post really much of my MMA stuff on there anymore, and mainly because the algorithm is terrible.
Right.
The algorithm does not show my content to the people that should be watching my content.
Yeah.
It's like some of the comments I get, I'm like, how did you even find this video? This is not for you. Like,
Yeah. You go on their profile picture, it's him
this is
with
not
like two,
related to anything you're interested
yeah,
in.
guy's got two guns in his profile
Yeah.
picture. Like, what is that?
Yeah, I'm like, this is not the content that you should be consuming. Like, I'm
Right.
sorry that I popped up into your algorithm and ruined your day, but
Yeah.
like, you know,
That's so true.
it's like I hate the algorithm. The algorithm in Facebook, I think, is absolutely terrible. For things like that. Now, for my fitness content, I would say it's better, but still, like, Facebook to me has always just been such a toxic social media. Like,
100%.
I don't like it.
It
I
is.
don't like it. I like Instagram
Yep.
and I love YouTube. YouTube is my favorite. I love YouTube.
Yep.
But Instagram's like my second favorite, and then it's like Facebook. I don't even know how much longer I'll be on Facebook, honestly. I just
I
oh my
agree with
gosh.
you. I really agree with you there because I thought about, and this also ties into something that could be a personal, but it was just the ending of my relationship. I realized social media was not something I wanted to partake in with the next person I want to be with. So I noticed
Yeah.
if I am going to be with somebody, I don't care at this point what social media you have, but if I can't like earn your trust and honesty, and you have all this social media, you are seeing all these guys just like these guys are seeing all these women then. Even if you are in a relationship,
Yeah.
your profile picture, guys and we don't know it, but there are guys that go through your photos and think, oh, I'm going to message Bree today, but I'm not.
Oh,
There are guys that could have went through my ex-fiance's photos and just never told me, right? So I don't like the idea,
right.
the blissful experience that social media provides. I hate it. I am so upset with where people are going with it and how they try to twist social media into like an outlet for everything, but that's not the case. And TikTok is not an outlet for your feelings. It's not
Yeah.
an outlet for you to go and talk shit on somebody. It's not an outlet that you should go and watch a video and then let that influence you. So I think these people create their own midlife crisis. And this just ties into what we're seeing too with
Yeah.
like Matt Walsh today, the debates, transgenders and LGBTQ. The one thing I've noticed is, and not with them, I'm just speaking on the general topic of what's influential and what's not.
Mhm.
People on TikTok watch
Sure.
one video that's a minute long and they're inspired that they need to change their physique or their body or their mind. And I'm just speaking on in terms of
Yeah.
Facebook, I don't think will ever do the same thing, but do I blame TikTok in terms of influencing others and making people think things they shouldn't? Yes. I do think everyone has freedom and the right to do whatever they please with their own body. But in terms of the generality of,
Mm-hmm.
hey, you know, you could be in a very loving relationship with somebody. You could be married to a guy, Bree, and that guy could watch one video, and that video may be on a trait that you have, but it may shine a light for him, and he may think, "Oh, I got to walk away." Well, you just let TikTok influence you when you. That's not her. That's
Oh my gosh, I know you're right. I haven't really thought about that much, but you're right. Because you'll see in there's a lot, and it depends on your algorithm too, because if you like search for certain things, or if you like a bunch of the same content, you'll start seeing more of it and more of it and more of it, and then it's like you're getting brainwashed almost. And it's like, yeah, there'll be these like little clips that it's like, oh well, if he doesn't text you back in 5 minutes, then you should leave him. And it's like, whoa, hold on, what are we doing? Like, why are we doing this? I can't stand all these relationship TikTok things, and that's why I kind of got off of TikTok, because every once in a while they'll pop into my algorithm again, and I'm like, whoa, I thought I got rid of this stuff. I'm like, I don't want
no,
to see all this nonsense, all these relationship experts. And it's like, what relationship do you have? Half the time, these people aren't even in a relationship and they're giving advice on relationships. And it's like,
right,
you know who I want to hear relationship advice from? Two people in their 80s that have been together
forever,
like since they were in their 20s. That's who
right.
I want to hear advice from.
And I agree
Not
with
some
you.
guy on TikTok.
Yeah, not some, and that's the thing too, is like a lot of them are people that are not relationships. They like are 21, 22 years old. They're children. They're young. And I'm not saying being 21 is a
Yeah.
child. I'm saying with that type of mentality where you think you should go on TikTok and do that, you are in that there is an algorithm here. These videos do pop up in others' feeds. You could have ended 7 relationships that were not meant to be ended.
Right.
You could have just destroyed something based off of so do I think some people ideally believe everything they hear or some things they hear because of this app that everyone else is on? Yeah. And what kind of sucks too, it's kind of like the whole iPhone Samsung dilemma. Like if you don't have TikTok, then what are you? That's like the stigmatism now. Like, oh, you don't use TikTok, you don't have it. Well, yeah, why? Like my ex-fiance's on there. I know other people are on there. Why do I need it? Like that's not my outlet.
I'm on there. I for a while I was on there because the algorithm was really good for a while. Like you could reach so many more people with your content. But yeah, it is kind of just
It's
you can
wonky.
go down a rabbit hole on TikTok
Yeah.
really easy, and I think that's dangerous. And I just yeah, I liked it for a while, and then now not so much. And I think now because I've just kind of gotten more and more interested in YouTube. I think I'm just realizing that um, long form content, as far as like consumption goes, is so much better for you than short form content.
Mhm.
Because, first of all, if you're consuming short form content all day long, imagine what that's doing to your brain. It can't be good. It can't be good. So
Right.
I try to stay away from consuming too much short form content. I try to consume just like long form content like podcasts, YouTube videos, cuz it's like to me that adds so much more value than watching a 1 minute video somebody made. And there's people that specifically make short form content. They don't even make long form content. Like me, like most of my short form content comes from my long form content. Because to me, like a reel, that to me is just like a little trailer of my podcast. It's
Right.
like, hey, here's what I'm talking about this week. That's to me what it is. So, and I used to make like more like short form stuff, and I've gotten away from it when I started making more longer videos because I enjoy it more. It's more fulfilling, and I also feel like it helps people more than me making a 1 minute video. Cause like, how much can I possibly get across to somebody in 1 minute? Like, how much, it's just, I don't know. It's kind of scary. It's kind of scary,
Yeah.
honestly,
Well,
just
you're right.
how
It's dangerous.
much people are consuming.
It's the rabbit
Yeah.
hole for sure. And I think it's also the danger of just believing everything. Like, oh shit, like I need to really process this. I need to
Yeah.
well, who's TikTok to tell you, or who's this person to tell you that doesn't even know you, that's not making the video for you. They're making the video for content. So it's like these
Right.
people not barely, I think it's barely anybody's getting paid on TikTok. I'm pretty sure you have to have like a good 3, 4, let me rephrase that, 500,000 followers and up plus sponsorships monthly to be making money. But those sponsorships are also based on people who are hilarious, not people trying to say,
Right.
hey, this is going on in your relationship. Look, bro, if you don't have in your bio, you know, um, certified therapist, certified life therapy, certified health therapy, whatever it is, you should not be producing that content, because I now could make a video that says I could basically take everything my doctor said, twist it up to my own words, and say that I did this. That's not coming, that's
Right.
from medical expertise of somebody who's actually looking out your best interest, as opposed to me, who's not a
Right.
doctor at all, saying some things, twisting it up. So I think ideally people will take a, it's kind of like people who for example, like have therapy with their spouse. That's normal. Yes, you can talk to your spouse and ideally figure out what's the best for you guys, but going to therapy alone may not fix that. You ideally takes two to tango. If you're not dating that
Yeah.
therapist, that person, and this is just me, but I've noticed and I've researched it, but some therapists don't look out for the best interest. Some therapists will tell you to leave. They will hype you up. And for me, I look
Yeah.
at it as like, well, that's not like, this isn't TikTok. Like if I'm going to therapy, it's to really discuss my problems, not someone else's issues or how bad that person is or what this person has done to me or what I've done to that person. It specifically should be centered around, this is what I've experienced in my life. What do you think is the best way to be better or feel better long term? As opposed to,
Right.
basically, it's almost like, and again, this is, I think, also ties into advice and friends. Some people have small circles, but we all know who to hang out with. You're not, you and I and other
Yeah.
people are going to hang out with people who
My
think that.
best friend is a therapist, by the way.
Right. Yeah. And
Speaking of circles.
yeah. And
But
I'm
it's
sure
funny
she's,
because I hear her perspective on a lot of things, um and it's like, yeah, some people, like, because as a therapist, you want to be honest with people. You don't want to beat around the bush because you're not going to help them really if you're not honest. But she's like, but some people, it's like you're honest with them and they can't handle it. Like they just can't. Like, and it's, man, that would be so hot. That would be really hard to
right.
like know, like, hey, you are the problem. You are the problem.
Right.
And just some people can't accept, and really, like, in the moment you might be like, well, screw you, I'm not the problem. But then, like, you'll look at it later and you'll be like, oh, maybe I was a little bit of the problem.
Yeah. And you're
you
right.
know
It's funny you mentioned that because I was looking into covert narcissism, where like you essentially have narcissistic traits. And most people that are narcissistic kind of have an idea, but covert narcissism is like straight up strategic narcissism. Like you almost do everything and don't know it at all. You basically, like, for example,
huh.
let's say you have an issue and you were to, let's say that issue, you're doing it for the right reasons, but you start to pawn off that issue onto everybody, your sister, your brother, your mom, and
Mm-hmm.
then they start delegating it for you. And then it goes to further places, and then everyone else is delegating your issues, and you're scotch free. You've got all these issues off your plate, everyone else has to deal with. A lot of people do that in relationships, friendships, where like they find these issues or like, man, this is going on. How do I handle this? I'm going to let other people delegate it. I'm going to let other people figure out my own. And people do that. And I've noticed
Hmm.
that. And that's why I'm so honest and direct and transparent, is because I think everybody carries one narcissistic trait. We all want to be better. We all want to feel good. We all want to be
Yeah,
perfect.
everybody a little bit.
Yeah,
We all got our ego.
exactly. 1% even. Like you can't say that because somebody wants to be perfect that they're narcissistic. They just have an ego that they need to generally.
Right.
It's all about harnessing
I
your
do think
feelings.
it is an overused term for sure. And I think it partially probably is because of TikTok, because there's all these and it's like, dude, not every guy you dated was a narcissist. Maybe
Right.
you were a narcissist, or maybe you were just toxic. Maybe you're not a narcissist, because like a narcissist is an actual term. Like, it's not just a bad name you give somebody. It's not
It's
just
term.
an insult. It's an actual thing.
So you can't just go around saying, like, just because you broke up and maybe it didn't go very well, you can't just go around saying, oh, they're a narcissist. It's like,
Right.
well, were they?
Exactly. It's almost like saying
It's
it's
like,
almost, and you're right though, because like it is a word that is over stigmatized now. People just use it. Oh,
yeah,
he told me what to do, or he controlled me. He's a narc. No, that's not how it is. People that typically look out for your best interest suggest the best things, and that has nothing to do with controlment. So I think a lot of people take something, they take it with a grain of salt, not realizing that as men, this is something I've learned as a man, we are taught to sacrifice. Men are taught to give everything they can for a woman. Women may have been taught differently. I can't speak on that. You might be able to shine light, but I do believe in that. Based on marital law, men who give everything are willing to do everything for that person. Once divorce happens, they lose it all. Well, I'm okay with
yeah,
sacrifice. I'm okay with bending over backwards, taking the shirt off my back, walking through, miles and miles of broken glass and rusty nails. I'm okay with that to sacrifice everything I can for that person. But you have to do the same for me. So if I'm gonna, for example, go on a roller coaster with you, well, then you better eat sushi with me after. Like there is a two-way streak of me doing something with you for you, you doing something with me for me. The health is, I think that's a healthy relationship. So I don't like it when people are like, well, you don't like roller coasters, but I do. Well, that doesn't differentiate us at all. That's just you having certain interest and likes. We don't, and so I think
right.
now what I've noticed is a lot of people, and even dating apps make this so bad, but the
Oh, it's
second
so bad.
it's terrible. It's the second you don't like something that someone else does, they look at you as like, well, shit, we're not going to get along because of roller coasters. Like, is this really that sensitive of a topic? So it's just
Yeah,
my
or
way.
you'll say one little thing and then somebody will be like, they'll just get like real, like, oh, well, that,
Offended.
I don't like that, yeah, I'm offended, or like, oh, well, that's a red flag. And it's like, what? That's why, like, I'm always just me. Like,
Yeah.
whether it's relationships, friendships, whatever it is, business, like, I just like to be me because then I'm like, well, then you know up front who I am. And if you don't like it, well, then you can decide right away that you don't like it. But I think sometimes people take first impressions a little bit too seriously. And it's like, well, you're not going to know everything about somebody from a first impression. You have to kind of get to know people, or just experience people in different environments sometimes, because it's like sometimes there's people where if you hang out with them and it's just you and them, they're totally different than when you hang out with them and it's like you're in a friend group or you're out and about. And so yeah, I think first impression. And also when I think there's two kinds of people when it comes to first impressions. There's the people that they're going to put on their best show and they're going to give you like the best version of them possible immediately. And then there's people that like they're just like, I don't care. I guess I'm probably one of those people. But and it's not that I don't care. It's just that I don't want to catfish you into thinking that I'm a certain way. And like not even like catfishing with looks, which is mostly like, actually, I Catfish was playing earlier on my TV, that's why I was thinking of it.
Great show.
But catfishing your personality, like, hey, here, this is who I am. And then like a week later, you're a totally different person. It's like, so I'd rather you just know like how I am right away. And I used to be different than that. I used to be more like, I would try to act a certain way. I'd be like, oh, well, they won't like it if I talk like this or if I say this. So I'm gonna talk like this, or I'll be quieter, or I'll be louder, or whatever. And I would just try to like match whatever energy they had. But now I've realized that you really find the best people, the people that are more like your tribe, when you're just yourself right away. Because then it's like, well, you know who I am already, so you're not going to be surprised. And of course, you got to get to know people, and people have different little quirks and stuff. But for the most part, I think it's better to just be you right
You're
away. And
right.
it's like, who
Yeah, it's
cares?
like it's like not wearing your
Yeah.
glasses. It's like taking your glasses off every day because you're not confident. But you don't
Yeah.
realize it, like, hey man, your health is on the line here. Wear your glasses. Sorry about my vulgar, by the way, in your podcast, but I I have noticed though. I love that you brought that up because I never thought about that. Like people can catfish their personality. They'll show up with the
Yeah.
best impression. And it's like, whoa. Like, what happened to you just being you? Like, I don't care about your successes in life on this first date. I don't care about how maybe all the things you've done that have made you you today. Like, I just want to know you. What brought you out today? What are we going to eat for dinner? Tell me
Right.
about, a little bit about your family, a little bit about maybe your last relationship or why you're single now. I think what they do is some people on these first impression dates, and I should just say dates, they say all these things that make it sound so extraordinary that you're like, oh, I haven't heard this before. I need that. Well, if you ideally be you, that person may like you more and more than they would have with the first impression. So I think some people
Yeah.
hold a level of, this is who I am. I'm going to tell them all of this. If they can't compare, they're not at my level. Well, that's not the way you need to. Popularity is not there's no healthy balance to that. We're not in high school. So that's one of the things,
Right.
like I used to never wear my glasses. Like, fun fact, Brie, I just started wearing my glasses every day, everywhere I go. 3 days ago, I didn't wear them to the gym. I was not confident. I was not comfortable, but I don't care anymore. Like, the other day I was with a couple buddies and I was like, oh my God, like, I feel so good to be wearing my glasses at the gym. And then the second thing that hit me right after was, this is me. Like, this is me. Like, I need to wear my glasses every day, but this is
Yeah.
me. And buddy came up and he was like, dude, you look really good in those. And I was very thankful he said that, but I looked at that as a perspective of, wow, if I never wore my glasses, would anybody have ever known that I wore glasses? So now that I'm wearing them and nobody's saying
I
anything,
didn't wear my glasses for a while. Because people always ask me, they were like, why don't you have contacts? And then I was like, oh, maybe I should get contacts. And I got contacts. And I like not wearing glasses. It's kind of nice sometimes.
yeah,
But I think it's easier for me to just wear glasses. So I'm like,
right.
I'll just wear glasses. Who
You
cares?
can just slip them right
Except
on.
for
You
when the only time
wondering,
it's annoying. Yeah, the only time it's annoying is when I need sunglasses, when the sun's shining in my face and you got to put sunglasses on over your glasses. That's kind of
it's
annoying.
terrible.
But
Yeah, it's like, yeah,
other than that,
you got six eyes at that point. It's like, holy shit, dude. And it
yeah,
doesn't,
I
hey,
know.
let's get a group family photo. And then there you are with like 3 layers, like all the way down to your nose. It's like, oh
Yeah.
my God. And I agree with you. Like, that was another thing too, is when I wore my glasses, I just felt uncomfortable in photos. But now I'm just like, I don't care. Like, I'm just happy to be me. I feel comfortable. I feel like I look good in them, and that makes me happy. So before, I didn't like it. I also feel like I look a bit more sophisticated. I wore black glasses before, but they were really small. And like, I've worn black glasses since I was 18. So I was like, I'm just gonna upgrade and get a big clear pair and just see what happens. And I'm really into it. But I'm also starting to just be more open with who I am. And I like that. I really do.
Yeah.
I don't think there was any sense of like midlife crisis. It was more of just understanding, like, do I really have the confidence that I claim I do? And that's where I had to
I
ask
mean,
myself.
I went from being an insurance agent to a podcaster. So
Right. Yeah.
like big shift. And people might look at that and think like, "Oh, you changed." And I'm like, "No, I changed when I got in insurance.
Right.
That's when I changed. Now I'm back to who I really am."
Right. This
That's
is
what
you.
happened because when I was doing insurance, I wasn't myself. Not completely.
Right.
Cuz you really can't be. I
No, you
mean,
can't.
unless you
You had
really
to be,
find
you had to do
uh
everything for your customers.
maybe if I
Everything.
was independent, yeah, maybe if I was independent, I could have been a little bit more myself, but it's like you're dealing with like the general public too, so it's a little different. You don't have like a niche. Like here I have like a niche. It's like people that like fitness and MMA and stuff like that, like my stuff, whereas before I had to just deal with everybody. And
Yeah. Right.
so some people might not like me, and that's
For
okay.
you,
You
for
know, not
being
everybody
you.
has to like me.
Yeah. I noticed you
Right.
shared, I think
Exactly.
you liked the post I shared, and it was about being so positive that negative people don't like you. And I love that. Like, if I'm so positive and in every route, logically and hypothetically, I know I'm right, I feel much better because I do things based on logical decisions and choices and the power of choice. I try not to I try not to bend the rules in life. I really try not to, because it just comes
Yeah,
back to you. Karma's great. Like,
it does.
I'm not gonna sit here and say bad karma is bad. Certain karma can come to you in ways that you don't want, but some karma is necessary. So I tend to,
Yeah.
I really try not to bend
Sometimes you
the.
have to learn.
Mhm. Yeah, you have to fall
Yeah.
to really learn and get back up. And that's why I try not to bend the rules, because life, we already have the freedom to play with, but it's when you start bending it and then doing things that maybe not aren't even unlawful, but aren't true to you, are not in good spirit. Like simple thing, cheating on somebody. You can do that, but is that really morally right? And does that really speak volume? Oh yeah, like that's not okay.
Right.
So it's almost like you're not doing anything unlawful, right? But you are doing something so bad for you, for your thoughts, and for your relationship that you'll eventually beat yourself up. It's almost like talking shit on 5 friends that you end up being best friends with 6 months later. You talked all this shit and then now you're all hanging out again. It's like, oh, well, how do I really feel about these people? Like, are they really them? Or maybe
Yeah.
someone who stole money from you and then they have a really good explanation as to why, and I've haven't met anybody that has stolen money from me and then came to me and gave me a really good excuse. But at the same time, when people ask me for money anyways, I don't give it because I know I won't get it back. So I really try
Right.
to do things just based on logical choices. I do not try to overthink things unless it's something I can control. If it is something I can control, I will overthink it. It happens. But things I can't control, I really push to the side. Like I'm just like, you know what? So when my relationship ended, I couldn't control that. The only thing I
Yeah.
can control is how am I going to move forward? How am I going to be the best person, the best man that I can be? I don't feel good enough, but at times I do feel good enough. And that's just all about friendships and relationships. You could be best friends with somebody and they could cut you off, but you could be in love with that person. So I've noticed that. Like I have some friends that I love to death that I don't ever want to lose. But if I do, like there's
Yeah.
nothing I can really do about it. So I have to kind of just outweigh the good with the bad, but also realizing not everything that happens is bad. Some things just happen the way they're supposed to. It's just like a plant,
Yeah.
flowers grow, but they die too in the process.
100%. It's all about mindset too. That's one thing that I've gotten a lot better at is just having a good mindset and being more conscious of my behavior and the way that I communicate and my actions is something that really in the last really in the last 6 months, but mostly in like the last few years that I've really tried to work on is well, more lately has been just being more positive. That's been a big thing that I've been trying to be conscious of. Like before I say something, I try to think like, okay, well, am I sending out good energy or am I sending out bad energy? Because I don't want to send out bad
Mhm.
energy because then there's going to be bad energy that comes back to me. And I believe that 100%. Um, the energy that you give out to the world, I feel like is the energy you get back. So if you're like a lot of these people, and I did a video on this actually. I was talking about this YouTube channel that got taken down, and I didn't really like talk about this in the video, but I'm bringing it up because it's kind of relevant. Is like, okay, you have this guy that has this YouTube channel, and the main thing in his channel is he kind of talks trash about people and tries to defame people or expose people or whatever. And it's like, okay, that's cool, you can do that, and like, sure, you might be right, you might have all the facts, and you might be right about a lot of these people, maybe, I don't know. But then you have to look at like, okay, but am I that much better of a person than them? Or you also have to look at like sending out all this negative energy and gossip and toxicity. Should I be surprised when something bad happens to me? Because I'm making bad things happen to other people. So, and I'm sending out just bad energy in general. So it's
Right.
like, don't be surprised when it comes right back to you. You just can't, you can't live your life like that where it's just constant toxicity because you'll attract toxic people, and your life will just be constant stress, just constant stress. And so it's so important, and that's why like I'm so much more careful now of who I let in my life. I used to be anybody, like I'll talk to anybody, like anybody can be my friend, whatever, like what, it doesn't matter how toxic, crazy you are, whatever. Because I've always just seen the good in people.
Mhm.
So then when people are like act like that, I'm like, oh, kind of caught off guard. So I kind of try to look for that more now, and look for signs that somebody might be maybe somebody I don't want to spend too much time with.
Right.
But I think that's an important thing to just be aware of is yeah, toxic people, and are you being toxic? Because sometimes I've caught myself being toxic and I'm like, oh, I don't like that version of myself.
Mhm.
So maybe I need to work on that. Like maybe I should try not to say things like that, or maybe I should just try to be better. Because we've all been toxic. Like everybody's made mistakes. We've all done things. We've all broken people's hearts. We've all done stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's like you got to realize that people are only here for a limited amount of time. You're only here for a limited amount of time. So why not spend that time being productive and being positive and helping people instead of just trying to tear everybody down? It's just like it's not a way to live, you
Yeah,
know?
it doesn't, and logically too, it doesn't make sense because you're right. Like, it's almost
Yeah.
kind of like, you talk shit on a bunch of people or you say a bunch of things, but then you get in a car wreck 3 hours later, or you talk to a buddy this morning, I hope I don't, man, he's telling you about his car issues, but then you end up getting in an accident. And you're right. Like, it's the butterfly effect too, of being able to put hate out there and how fast it comes back. But you put positive energy out, it may not come back that day 2, day 3, but a week later, you might stumble across somebody who's a great connection for you in real estate. You might stumble across somebody who's like, hey, I want you to be on my podcast. Hey, I saw your podcast. I really like that. Hey, I saw you on Facebook, but I noticed you go to the gym, whatever it may be. So I've noticed that about positivity. It may not come in the first day, but holding a door for somebody is, almost very simple to do, all the way to when a person asks you
Yeah.
to, hey, I think it's more of two, like the people that I don't expect anyone to help when I'm in need, but do I have friends that I communicate with, that I show them the value that I can bring to the table as a friend? Like, hey, I'm not going to call you whenever I need you. I'll text you every day. And then if something really bad happens, just know my
Right.
friendship is real with you. Please be there. So I try to look at it like that. Some people, I think, take friendships for granted and, have separation issues. And that's where they come down to, hey, come over out of nowhere. You might get a text and you're in bed. Hey, let's hang out. Hey, let's go to the gym. And it's like, hey, can you maybe just ask what I'm doing today? Can you maybe just ask how I am, as opposed to, hey, do this? Like, so I think some people
Yeah.
lack good communication and stability in friendship with a good mindset. So yeah, mindset definitely plays a great role. And some people also look at friends as a business tool, and that's not the best way to look. I look at friends as life. Like, if I'm friends with you, I want to do life with
Yeah.
you. We may not be hanging
Yeah.
out at 80 years old, but could we do things that are memorable? Yeah. Will this podcast be out forever? 100%. Will this video always be able to be watched? 100%. So there are things that we can carry forever through technology, these visuals. And I think some people are just, and that's probably the one thing why I don't like hanging out now with people from the gym. I'm not a big fan anymore of like, hey, met this guy at the gym, super cool dude, let's hang out all the time, because then you're essentially hanging out with somebody based on just iron, like lifting weights. You don't really know the person. That person
Right.
could have plenty of issues as to maybe why they don't have friends, whatever it might be. But I've also learned too that, like, I go to the gym for me, and a lot of the people that I meet don't go to the gym for them. They're going to the gym for other reasons.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that's why I have to stay to myself, because I work out for me. I'm not working out for other women. I'm not working out for a girl. I'm not working out to, or I'm not going to the gym to meet other women and talk to them the whole time. Like, I have limited time. I have an hour and a half to work out.
Right.
I'm going to spare it diligently and do it the best way I can in the best manner possible. So I just think some people tend to lack the idea of, hey, are you really doing this for you or for somebody else? And that's where, um, I think the mindset speaks volume, because if somebody went up to you or me and said, hey, like, you shouldn't be doing that, I'd be a little upset. You're telling me I shouldn't be doing something without really trying to understand me, So it's different
Right.
it's different if you really know that person. If you really know them nitty gritty after a year or two, and hey, you're doing this XYZ, those are issues you need to fix, you can come off in the best way possible. Now, can some of it sound like a dick, or can some of it come off in a condescending manner? 100%. But that's all trial and tribulation of being able to communicate, because if you can already be honest, that's like 75% way there. The other 25% is just
Yep.
being able to communicate in a manner that other people can reciprocate. So I had to think about it like this. If I go up to somebody and say, hey, I want marriage, but they want to party all the time, they're not going to reciprocate that. They will literally hear that one ear out the other because they're so used to partying. But if I go up to a woman and say, hey, I love going out to Main Street, let's go to Q tonight, she might be like, oh, that's perfect. I love Q. Well, now I know where the line is drawn of this is what you really want to do. Like, you want to go clubbing and do drugs and drink till 3 a.m. So I had to really ask myself, nowadays, it's all about reciprocation. What we want is being reciprocated in the most sensitive manner possible. So I want marriage. I would love to spend the rest of my life with a woman, but unfortunately the dating pool here is so bad in Missouri that if I was to go up to multiple women,
It's so bad.
yeah, the water is so murky, dude. It's gross. I could go up to
Yeah.
20 women and basically tell them who I am, this is me, and I want marriage. And they all could still be like, well, we don't. And it's like, well, that's like, I don't understand what this Western like mentality is, but marriage is a beautiful thing. Spending the rest of your life with somebody that has their full interest in you, that can sacrifice it all for you,
Yeah.
is a beautiful, it sounds beautiful. Like somebody being able to do everything that you would for them is a gorgeous thing. Because the one thing I also learned is as I get older, I lose more friends. So when I'm 50, 60, 70, do I want to rely on 10 guys? Not really. I'd like to have a spouse that I can communicate with and rely on. So I had to kind of balance it and really think, man, I'm okay with losing friends because that allows me to develop more of myself to be a better person for that time when I meet somebody that I really, really like.
Yep.
So I think that's probably the only thing I overthink is marriage, because I think it's so different than what it used to be. And I say that truthfully because
It
25.
is.
I'll be 26 in a couple months. So I'm just really trying to understand, like, well, I wanted to get married at a young
Oh,
age.
so
but
you're younger than me because I'm 27. For some reason, I thought you were older than me. I don't know why.
It's okay. I thought you
I'll
were
be-
younger than me. So like,
I'll be
no,
28. I'll be 28 this year.
when's your birthday?
I'm an old lady. September.
Old lady, my ass, dude. Old lady. Yeah, you probably have a whole house of cats. You probably have 20 cats around.
I'm already too old for Leonardo DiCaprio, so
Yeah, you are
I've already
too
hit
old.
that
Most beautiful-
milestone.
He's my man crush. But you're not too old for like Aaron Taylor Johnson or something, you know? He's perfect. He's a good actor. But I agree with you though. Like marriage is so different nowadays than what it used to be. And like I believe that marriage can happen with anybody. I believe that you truthfully do not.
Yeah.
You don't have to be with the right person to be married to love them. You could meet somebody that you may not get along with at all times, but throughout healthy communication, you could fix that and watch it grow. So I think it ties into relationships where people are like, well, we were homeless and now look at where we are together. Well, then you got people who make $300,000 a year and they're just divorcing. So you make all this money, but you lack good communication. Why is it that these people that were dead broke homeless can work together and they bend over backwards? So I think it's certain people putting themselves in really challenging positions, and some people just can't handle that. I think some people claim they have respect, but they don't. I think the word respect is also a bigger term now than it ever used to be. So when people say I have respect for you, I take that very literally, because respect for me goes a long way. Respect is not like
same here.
It's kind of like saying I like you. Like, I like you, man. Well, great. That's good to know. What do you like about me? Well, your vibe is great. Your vibe is cool.
Right.
Whatever, your energy. That's great. But once you say you have respect for me and I have respect for you, I expect you to be honest with me about everything. If you have full on respect,
Right.
you know what I mean? So I think respect, there are words now that are becoming more important, that are turning into terms that you and I and other people have to identify and kind of understand who we are now. Because I've always thought about it. Like, I still haven't done it to this day, but I would love to be in a room with like 100 people that all have ADHD, just to see how we all collab. Just to see like what, like mouses looking for cheese, you know, like what would happen.
That would be something else. Well, going back to what you said, with like marriage now, do you think that, and we'll probably wrap it up soon after this, but I want to talk about this because do you think that people don't want to get married, or do you think maybe they do want to get married but they've just given up on it because it seems unachievable, or it seems like they just keep dating and dating and dating, and then they just sort of like, oh my god, all these guys or all these girls are just terrible, and then they're like, I don't even want to get married, I'm better off by myself? Because I've had that mindset at times. I've always wanted to get married though. I've never given up on that idea. Like I've always felt like I will get married one day. It's never really like I've never changed that. But there have been times where I'm like, maybe I'm just better off by myself. Like
Right.
maybe I'm just better off just doing my own thing, you know? So I wonder if maybe some people they say they don't want to get married, but it's because they think it's something that maybe is just a fantasy.
Yeah.
They
And
they don't think that they will ever get that.
yeah, I
I
love
don't
that you
know.
asked that because I think, and I have two sides to this. Marriage is a blissful experience. What we see on TV, movies, media, Instagram, TikTok. I could go on Facebook right now and like go to that, just main page. But if you scroll down long enough, you see it too, where you see that like friends list where it says quick ad, all the people that are married, all the people in their photos with their spouses. And it's like, that's blissful experience. Like somebody could see that and say, oh, I want that. Well, then you really get the nitty gritty of that relationship. And then you realize I don't want marriage. So I think some people are lost with deciphering what they think they want and what they know they want. And needing a marriage is not, I think, yeah, we can all say like we need marriage because it's a traditional thing. So I don't want to doubt parents who were born in the early 1900s who were based off of that. Like you have to get married, you need to do this. I respect those based on morals and values of time and how things have changed over these periods every 10, 20, 30 years. Now it's leading into people not actually sitting there and thinking, wow, look at the economy, look at the world, look at where we're at today. A one bedroom apartment, you like realistically, like it's unaffordable for people 21, 22, and 23. I'm thankful to have a nice condo. You're
Yeah.
thankful to have a nice condo, whatever, a house, whatever it is, right? But you and I and other people that are single, we have to manage that, right? And then all of these other people that don't realize, oh, well, I'm working at this job, like I can't afford an apartment, or I'm living in mommy and daddy's basement, 24, 25, 26 years old. All of these people don't realize that the whole point of being with somebody is to have stability, to be with someone you can love, you can
Yeah.
share your bills with, you can split rent with, you can live with, but not only that, that you can build companionship with. I'm not saying being with somebody, yeah, you need to be with somebody to split bills. That's a normal thing. There are roommates still to this day at 40 and 50 years old. But I think it ties into the idea of people not knowing what they want at all and thinking that they want marriage, right? So then it comes down to the fact that people that, might do things last minute sporadically. But the one thing I've noticed is a lot of women have kids now that are single. So they might end up with the guy, and this is coming from dating apps, right? I have no proven accurate data here, but a lot of the women I've met on Tinder recently, even in the past couple months, they have children. And that to me is not a red flag. I'm okay with that. But what is the red flag is that you were with somebody that knocked you up and now you have a kid and now that has to go to some other man. Like you have to essentially after the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth date, maybe even by like meeting family 6 months down the road, eventually it's going to get to the point where that person is going to say, hey, can you help out a little bit or can you carry some responsibility? So I think the idea of marriage
Right.
is a beautiful thing. It is awesome. I love the concept. I think it's raw, real, true. It should happen for everybody. I think it's more upsetting of knowing when people just think that they're committed. They go into it thinking, I can do this, I can do that, but not realizing, and this ties into what you said. If people don't discover or figure out these toxic traits, how can you be a great mother, a great wife? How can you be a great parent? So I
Yeah.
don't, I think now, and I want to tie this into it too as well before your podcast ends, but I think even back then, we didn't have social media to rely on to look at. Back then, it was, hey, you met your person. Hey, I'm working at GM. Oh, cool. I'm a server. It's early 1990s, right? Early 2000s even. You start to see technology come out. '06 is the first BlackBerry that you can send emails on. Then the iPhone and the iPad and the iPod, everything that eventually changed the demographics of people and the traditionality of getting married. Before it was like, hey, you meet someone you like in your town, you marry them. Now people are getting married to
Right.
others in different states, different countries. People are dating each other's friends. So that's the issue. Everybody that goes to the gym, and this is a pure example, one person you date could go to the gym and they could date another guy that you know. That's upsetting to me. I have enough utter respect not to date people that know my ex-fiance. I would hope to God the same, but I also don't play games. I really try not to cross boundaries or step on anybody's toes. So I expect that same I essentially expect that same respect from those people as well. Kind of like if a friend stole $1,000 from me and then another buddy of mine was hanging out with that person, I'd warn them 100%. But it's on them
Right.
if they do that, and it may not look good, but essentially they're, they could deal with a default or an issue there too. So marriage, I think so many people are obsessed with this blissful experience of like seeing a TikTok short of like this quick little beautiful wedding, or they they see this Instagram photo that this person just posted of their wedding in a beautiful rural area in Winfield, Missouri, wherever it is. So yeah, I definitely don't think people have given up, but I do think men and women both lack at a certain age the mentality of knowing what they want. So like I matched, and this is a great example. I actually matched with a female a month ago, and she was really nice, 21 years old. And like, I don't like dating younger women, and her and I do not talk at all, but she's from Ukraine. Like, she moved out here. She makes really good money, takes care of herself. And I called her out, but she called me out on calling her out, because she was like, look, like, I have my shit together. I know what I want. And then I had to think, is it the ethnic cultures where they're taught a little bit more about marriage? Or is it the fact that these parents have kids born in 02, 03, 04 that are raised on phones, on watching videos on shitty relationships, right? And then you come across a podcast with all single guys, all single dudes talking about women XYZ, or then you come across a podcast with women talking badly on men. So I don't, that's why, like, I try to keep, and I love that you do this too, but keeping the idea of personal relationships outside of your podcast, because it's like stepping in company ink. Don't date somebody you work with, because that will cause faults for sure long term, and maybe what you see, what you expect, what you want, what you need to do. So I just think some people are obsessed. It's unfortunate. I'm thankful to be born in 97. You're probably thankful to be born in 95, 96. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at it, is like, I'm very thankful that I still want marriage, that I know I want someone, because I pull a Matt Walsh. Like, I know exactly what the fuck I want. And unfortunately, I've met so many people who just who do not know what they want at all. They don't have that logical aspect of like, hey, you're living in mom and dad's basement. Like, I'm not interested in that. I'm not going to offer and help you build a better life. But ideally, if you can understand how important marriage is, Tinder is not for hooking up. So I think some people take these dating apps that were built for people to connect. Now they're taking them and turning it into, hey, I don't know how to have marriage. I don't know how to love. I don't know how to communicate properly. So let's just have sex. That's what I've noticed, is these people that lack just good communication based on true morals and values of being a good person, not cheating, spending your time with that person, being in love, showing them love. Doesn't matter what love language, but that's my take on it. I think there are two very big sides to it, but I think marriage is a great thing. People are just obsessed with this blissful experience. And if we didn't have social media today, everybody, I think, would be more married than what we see now.
I agree. Yeah, well, and because it's like, I don't know. I think a lot of people too just don't have a lot of great examples of good relationships and marriages in their life.
Yeah.
So maybe that turns them off to it, because they're like, oh, well, my parents got divorced, or my parents had a very toxic marriage, or whatever. No, my video's gone.
It's all good.
Well, we'll wrap this up here anyways. Unfortunately, I've got to
it was great.
go and take my dog out.
Oh, you need to get some dinner too. Like, I'm glad we spent some time together. This was godly awesome.
Yeah, it is almost dinner time. I'm getting hungry, but
I love your take on marriage though, and your workouts, MMA, UFC, fighting, life, connections, love, family, and friends. I love it all. So I'd love to be a part of your podcast again. I want to thank you so much, Bree, for allowing me to be part of Barbells and Bangers.
Oh, I thought I did something here with the camera.
Oh, there you are.
There I am.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I know this was last minute.
No, it's all
good.
But
I appreciate you hopping on here. It's very brave of you too, because like sometimes people get nervous about going on podcasts, because a lot of people around here where we live, at least, it's not a big thing here yet. So I'm excited to see, a St. Louis podcast scene start to come up, and
100%.
and people like you and some other people I know that are looking to start podcasts. I think it'll be really cool. So
Yeah, I'm gonna call
this is
you
a great
right away.
conversation. I appreciate. Oh
No, go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I can definitely help you out when you want to start your podcast. Be happy to help because I didn't have anybody
Awesome.
to help me really. Well, I had a couple people that were like gave me some pointers, but I always like to help people and make sure that that there aren't barriers stopping you from doing it that are like little things like tech things and stuff like that. It's like let's just get over those barriers now and let's just get started. Just
Right.
do it. Just go.
I love it. Well, I
So
want to
that's
thank
what
you
makes
so
it
much.
fun.
That, you know, also just thank you for allowing me to
Of
be on it.
course.
100%. I very flexible, but again, thank you so much, Bree, and I appreciate your time and thanks for allowing me to be on your Barbells and Bangers podcast. And I'm looking forward to more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you have a great day and
Yes.
enjoy what's left of your weekend.
Yes, will do. I
All
will.
right.
You
I'll
too.
see you.
Enjoy it. All right. See ya.
All right.